All right. So, the way that we're going to structure the stream is I'm going to interview Carter, our game director, about some of the decisions we've made, and we're going to do some demos of the game as well. Should be pretty exciting. And I think we'll get a sense of some of the new features that have happened since the alpha as well, which will be pretty fun. And kind of a crash course on how to do all that stuff. So that should be pretty fun. I guess. Do you want to? So, all right. The seed.
Yeah, so the world basically on May 29th we're beginning a playtest, which will be it'll be a free like a demo on Steam for anyone to try out the game. This will be a proper gameplay test, unlike the previous technical test, and the this will be a totally new world that people have never seen before, and the June 20th release in early access later will have a different world from that. Um, it will be similar in structure, but it's not exactly the same as the May 29th build because there's some stuff that we've added and changed for that one that isn't in the May 29th build. I see another question. Someone just said, what restrictions are we gonna have on this weekend playtest? It's a great question. We're putting out a announcement later today, but the short of it is we want people to have a chance to try the game without completely having people burn themselves out playing for 2 weeks and then or however long the test goes, and then as soon as the game releases, people are so burnt out on the game. So there are some limits in place, mostly around how deep you can progress. And so although the playtest will be out for a while, there are going to be limits on how deep in the progression you can go, which will hopefully encourage you to try more breadth of the game and get an experience for a lot of the different stuff in the game without getting so deeply invested that when we wipe between this preview and the release on June 20th, that'll be a fresh start. And we don't want you to feel, like you've lost all your progress from the playtest. So
we're going to be capping to level 10. But on the upside, actually, it's not going to be a weekend playtest per se. We are leaving it up as a demo from, let me look at the announcement, make sure I get the dates exactly right, May 29th to June 16th. So you'll be able to play sort of right up until the early access release, and we hope that this will give people a good idea of, they can play the game, they can find out what it's all about, and make a very informed decision about whether they want to buy it. And hopefully, they have a fantastic review for us on Steam. The other thing is that, so Yuki Ora is also asking June 16th, not June 20th. That's correct. So it ends June 16th. There's 4 days before the actual release that you will not be able to play. But the cool thing about that is we are going to be in Steam Next Fest. So that'll be exciting. That is June 16th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
It starts on June 9th and goes till June 16th.
Right.
Someone asked, can we stream the playtest? Yes, there's no NDAs or anything. Since even the last alpha test, it's fully open. So for anything with the game now, you can stream it, make YouTube videos, whatever.
Yes, and please stream the game. We're actually going to do a very cool thing. We're trying to do a Twitch extension, which will allow people to on stream donate to your empire with bits. Even if we're not allowed to do the Twitch extension, we're probably going to do it. So if you connect your Twitch account in the BitCraft website, if anybody donates bits to your channel, you will also get some empire boosting, which is kind of fun.
How is Alpha 3? And I think the reason why this is important or relevant is because Alpha 3 was what informed what we wanted to do between Alpha 3 and the Steam release. And so Alpha 3, we took a big step in making the solo player experience without building your own town much more viable. And so the big steps we did on that was basically making so towns were more public. So I think in summary, like the outcome of that was a huge improvement for the game. I think it totally changed the social dynamics, in our opinion, for the better. And a lot of players were really happy with that. What we took away from that, I guess the other thing that we tested was we reintroduced the adversity and the kind of threats in the world. And so we got good feedback on both of those things. And the main takeaway that we had from Alpha 3 heading towards what was going to be beta, but ended up being the Steam Early Access release, was we wanted to double down on those things and kind of improve them even more based on the lessons we had learned.
For those of you who played Alpha 3, what are your opinions on what went poorly or what went well? Gone042 says trade visibility. Trade Finder took a bit too long to work well. Well, maybe we'll get into some of the changes we've made in the beta, but let's see what people have to say. Jackals. Okay, jackals are a great one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about the jackals, Carter?
I mean, I think they were good and bad. I think like I want to be clear, and like when we reintroduced the jackals and the monsters into the world, we specifically wanted to do an overcorrection. We wanted to go from the world feeling like it's absolutely totally safe, there's no danger, there's no concerns, you just go around and do whatever you want, to saying like we want the world to be this harsh oppressive place, because what we didn't want to do is do like 5 balancing iterations of like it's too safe, it's a little bit less safe, but it's still safe, and like not get to where we wanted. So we just said, let's just go all the way to like the world is dangerous. And so we overcorrected on that on purpose. And I think now with the next iteration, we're bringing it back to something that's closer to the sweet spot. And I think part of what made that much worse is there were some issues on the server where the whole purpose of the monsters was you have the monsters, you build your town, you build a wall around your town, and that keeps the monsters out. But the monsters decided to slide through the walls and phase through the walls that were basically keeping your town safe, which I think led to some obviously unintended from our developer side, terrible situations that players had where their town got wiped because of a bug essentially. And so we did patch that during the playtest, but obviously that I can see how that might have disrupted some of people's gameplay and impacted their enjoyment.
Two quick questions. Some resources weren't worth trading. This person asserts also that they didn't really want to buy. People didn't want to buy food and cook food. Just a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think like we learned obviously I think as someone mentioned there's issues with the economy of just like it was hard to trade or it was hard to see what was available for trade, but I think there was also a lot of items where there wasn't a reason to trade them. I think we made some improvements from earlier, like in Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, where like a lot of times at the end game, people were just like mining resources and just dropping them on the ground to let them despawn because they weren't even worth picking up. You were just doing it for the XP. Obviously, we don't want, like, obviously that was bad. And so I think we made some improvements, but I think there still was issues in Alpha 3, and probably in the next release there'll still be some stuff that is not tuned correctly, but we've been really closely looking at a lot of that and trying to continue to iterate and figure out like why are players not wanting this, or why is there too much supply of this that's not matching the demand, or is it really hard to get this thing or move this thing, and why is this not working? And we've been slowly chipping away at I think balancing those better.
Yeah, and we won't get it perfect in the beta at first either. But the thing is, we need to build tools to actually be able to monitor the economy and make sure that it's all proceeding as designed. But the best thing about playtest is that we get to try that. So we have a very good idea now. It's not just a random guess.
Yeah, every time we playtest, we learn more things, and we hopefully iterate and correctly improve those things, and then we find the next most important things on the next time. So
yes, I'll just mention here BNK Moss 24 said, I heard this was going to be a second monitor game. Is going to be interactive enough to be able to play as a main focus, or are we going to be sitting at a table for like 2 hours at a time? And I can answer that one briefly. The game is supposed to be second monitorable, but it's also supposed to be something you can play as your main game. That is the idea. In fact, you should be able to get more out of it if you're playing it actively. But it is something that we want people to be able to play passively as well. Okay, we're getting a lot of questions. We're going to keep going just with the stream thing here. I'll just answer some of them really quick and move on. Will graphic settings be available for the game loads for us with bad graphics? I believe we set to low by default. Am I wrong, Carter, on that?
We do. I think we've changed the way that the like graphics settings work. We've kind of split it up into more categories. I think the biggest issue we had was low before was setting like the graphical fidelity of stuff low, but it still had some things like the grass density set quite high, which was one of the highest costs in the past. So we've split that
Sure.
up and set everything generally on the lower side. So hopefully that will make it easier to just get into the
Definitely able
game
to
and
get in there.
edit from there.
And in the final release, will there be regular wipes? And if so, will leveling be reset? So the idea in the final release is that there will not be regular wipes and that leveling will not be reset. It remains to be seen if we can actually achieve that and have the game still be fun and long living and so on. But there are games that have done this. I would point you to EVE Online and RuneScape and Albion, for that matter. It's a little bit different because you're not building up the world in the same way that you are in BitCraft. Okay, demo is out. Check it out. Demo is out on the
May 29th.
May 29th, also known as 2 days from now. Cool. Seasons. Good question, by the way. You want seasons and weather. I don't remember where we announced it, but
Got a
give us a wish
list.
list.
Yeah.
Go wish list because it's a wish list reward. So if you go wish list that, you will get seasons and weather for people to play. Okay, so next on the agenda. Cool. So what were we focusing on for beta 1, also known as early access? What are we trying to achieve in beta 1 that we didn't get in alpha 3?
I think it's a good question. So once we finished up alpha 3, we kind of took stock of everything and we laid out what we thought the areas that we wanted to focus on were for the next iteration, basically. And we identified basically 5 things that we organized the team around. We actually split the team into basically like kind of 5 teams. It was a little bit not exactly split up like this, but we basically split the team up and said like, you 3 are going to focus on this, you people are going to focus on this, and then we kind of worked in these smaller pods for a while to really try and improve these things. And the 5 things were, the first is multi-region scaling. So obviously all of our previous pre-alpha and alpha tests were on a limited size world with a limited amount of players that we could have connected. This is why we had to be somewhat selective on how many people we could accept into these alpha tests, because we had a certain number of players we could handle in each world region. And so one of the big leaps, which I'm sure we'll still find ways to improve it more, and undoubtedly there's more features we want to add to it, but basically this big quantum leap forward that we have going from the previous alpha test to now entering beta with Steam Early Access is the world is now multi-region. So what is a region is basically, think of it as like a world that we previously had during alpha. Now we can have multiple worlds all in a spatial layout, and you can transfer worlds as you walk across the boundary between them, basically. So you can jump from world to world. These are basically separate like server, like not physical servers, but like you can think of them as like
They're logical. They're databases.
Logical servers, yeah. So you can basically, what this allows us to do is, from a technical standpoint, we can scale the game infinitely. From a game design perspective, there are complications and trade-offs with that. Like obviously we don't want to just make the world infinitely big, everyone joins, and then over time the player population comes down and now you don't even see any other players while you're playing. BitCraft is a social game,
Yeah.
and so we want to be careful about how we scale the world in terms of the space we create, because the player density is
some
very
things are coming
important.
up in chat though. I want to clarify. Some people are asking instances. It's not instances. So the difference between an instance is based on the name created specifically for your instance of going in. So for example, in World of Warcraft, if I have an instance of a dungeon, I'm creating a new thing specifically for you, or you and your set of players. That's a separate instance. That's not the case. This is another region of the world. So just imagine it like a normal continent. You walk across, or you go across in a boat, and now you're in the other region. It's not specific to just you. It's for everybody.
Yeah, Mr. Fisham
There's a big difference between those.
Mr. Fisham said, so in a way, it's like Foxhole. And yes, it's
It's like
basically exactly like that. So right now, the world has a fixed size, but it's much bigger than the previous alphas, obviously, because it's many of those worlds. And I think as we see like where we stabilize in terms of player population and all that, we then can decide how big we should increase. Should we increase the size of the world? Should we make future wipes have a bigger world? We'll kind of be deciding that based on for gameplay reasons.
Yes, and I'll say the SpacetimeDB core team. SpacetimeDB is our backend that we run for the game. We developed it. Very cool. Check it out. But the core team is working on getting the performance as high as possible, and we're going to be doing that right up until the release. So even if there's problems with the early access, we have big plans. So don't
Yep.
you worry.
I'll try to. That was the first pillar. That one obviously had a bit of a tangent. I'll try to go through the other ones more quickly because I think I see tons of questions in chat as we start to show the gameplay and the agenda we have for the stream today. It's going to answer
Yeah.
a lot of these questions, so I don't want to waste time.
Without going into detail, just list all five,
Yeah.
and then we'll hop into a game. How
Sure.
about
So
that?
number one was the multi-region world. Number two is disentangle the scales, specifically the settlement and character scale, making that more clear and symbiotic. Number three is adversity. So this is just further improving the threat level of the world and interacting with the threats. Number four is player purpose and goals. I already touched on this a bit of like giving players more ways to progress and more goals to set for themselves. And number five is the UX and polish. So just basically improving the experience of the game, making that feel better.
Awesome. Shall we hop into game, and then we can chat through some of the different things we've worked on?
We shall. Let me...
Cool. Who wants to see gameplay? Drop a gameplay in the chat if you want to see gameplay.
All right, let us go. All right, I think it's up.
Okay, so just a quick rundown, I suppose, of this. So do you want to talk about one of those 5 pillars of focus, or do you want to just quickly go through
so I
the
think the 5 pillars of focus informed the like dozen or few dozen things that we decided to do in the game. And so that's what we've already released as the patch notes summary, and then we released these kind of 1 or 2 per day deeper dives on some of the key features of the game that we were new to the game. And so what we were hoping to show off today was basically going through those 16 kind of key features and showing like what do those look like in the game.
Would be, let's look at the skills. Skills have been overhauled. We wanted to make sure that it was great while keeping all the same good stuff that you enjoy from the previous alphas, but sort of filling it out. So take us through that.
Sure. So I can, let me just get my right tabs open. So we can take a little run around the town here. So we still have the ruined town, but it's been overhauled a bunch. So we can go kind of go around and see the travelers. And now you'll notice that we have various travelers in the town. So we've got Heimlich hanging out here. But we're going to go over and talk to one of the new travelers, actually, as a part of a quest I have here. I'll have to see. I haven't completely finished the onboarding, so this might interrupt a little bit, but we can go talk to this guy. So I'll breeze through the dialogue here so you guys can experience it for yourself. But basically, when you talk to these, let me see if I can... It's a little bit covered by our cameras. But basically, when you talk to the travelers now, in the past, you only had... you could have an option to talk to the traveler, but you only really had the option to trade, which would basically open their shop. So I'm going to come back to this, but basically, for now, I'm just going to close this. We've added a new system for the travelers called tasks. And so if I click this, it's going to open the traveler tasks for this traveler. So this is Rampart. We've already released the lore video, or sorry, lore blog about him. So if you haven't seen that yet, you can check out our website and read more about his background. But we can see here, basically, each traveler is now associated with a skill. So if I hit this button to open up my menu here. So previously in the game, I think you guys are familiar, we have the professions. But a new thing that we did have technically in Alpha 3, but it's a lot more refined, is the skills. So these are what is the difference between professions and skills? Professions are about your specialization. So this is like, think of this as like choosing your class in an MMO. The difference in BitCraft is you can swap kind of classes at will. You can pursue them all at the same time, but generally you're most rewarded for going deep in one rather than dabbling in all of them. The skills, by contrast, these are things that augment your character in kind of horizontal ways. And so we wanted to make it like you kind of pursue one profession, and I mean, you can change which one you're focused on, or you can do more, but you're rewarded for doing one deeply. And then you can dabble in all the skills that you're interested in. And what this means is that all of these benefit your character in different ways and have permanent long-term progression. And all of these are also associated with a traveler. So Rampart here is the Slayer traveler trainer, or kind of traveler master. And so What that means is you can level up your Slayer skill by going and fighting monsters, but you can also come do a task for Rampart, and he'll give you both some currency as a reward, like some in-game hex coins, and he'll also reward you with a big drop of XP. So as you level up, you'll get more advanced tasks, like more challenging tasks. And every player, these tasks are unique to them, and they refresh every few hours. And what this means is kind of at any point you can log in the game, you can go to the traveler for a skill that you're interested in, and they're going to have some unique tasks just for you that you can go do. And once you do them, then they're kind of on cooldown until the tasks refresh. So you can think of it kind of like a daily quests in other games, except it's more frequent than daily. It's not. It's every few hours. And so in this case, he's asking me to do a few things. So one of them is to bring 5 jackal fur, which I can get by killing jackals. Another one is to get 1 jackal fur. And so you can see here, the rewards are not necessarily proportional because there's a limit of, like, you can only do each of these tasks one time. And if I move this here, in 1 hour, actually, you can see it here. In 1 hour, this is going to refresh. And so if I don't do these tasks, then that opportunity is gone and I'll get some new tasks. And then it'll be my chance to do that. So what I'm actually going to do quickly here is I'm going to, we're going to show a little bit of some combat stuff here while I try to, so I can go do one of these tasks. So I'm just going to go through the tutorial a little bit here quickly.
Nice miss.
I know.
Nice miss.
I swear I did the ability.
What happens when you max the skill? Can you prestige? That's an interesting question.
No, you can basically level 100 is like the soft cap, but you can basically you can keep leveling up for like cosmetic levels after that. So, you know, if you get to level 105, that's like the same as getting to level 100 like 3 times over basically. So it's quite the flex.
One thing I'll just throw out there about the skills is skills we're kind of imagining is something that everybody may want to try. And then we're imagining people will probably just do 1 profession, possibly 2 professions. It's up to you how many you want to do. But it's easier to work with other people who are doing different professions, whereas everybody can kind of do skills and they kind of all work together. I'm particularly excited about the merchanting skill and the construction skill because that is what I want to specialize in. Personally, that's how I played my other games. Obviously, construction is not a thing. It's available in RuneScape, but it is very, very exciting. So what I'll say for that is we want it to be that if you want to even do no professions, potentially, you can do, maybe you just want to be a merchant. That should be exciting, and people should be able to see like, oh, wow, this guy is a super high-level merchant. That's super cool. Same for construction.
Yeah, I think another way I would put it, like another angle I would look at it is like professions are helping the whole world advance in like rebuilding civilization. Skills are about personally like improving your abilities as a character. So I can touch on a few of the rewards, but like construction gives you access to more advanced buildings. It can give you access to more decorations and variety of like pavings, but it can also give you access to things like training to pull larger carts. Cooking can give you access obviously to like different recipes, but it can also, we have plans to make it so it can like increase the size of your stomach as you become a better chef so you can stay full for longer. Merchanting gives you access to various things, one of them being access to set up your own trading stands and access to make caches to store items around the world. Sailing will give you access to better boats and learning to sail and learning other things that can improve your ability to sail and get around the world. Slayer can give you access to different types of weapons and more powerful weapons and armor. Taming can give you access to pets and mounts that allow you to get around the world and do other things like that. So we have a bit of a start for these, but the plan is to really continue expanding these and like put more rewards that fit each of them and more personal progression so that basically at any point you can take a pause from working on your profession to go pursue any of these. And when you come back to your profession, you feel like you have something else in your pocket that you have like a permanent reward that's going to help you going forward, no matter what you're doing in the game.
Can you talk about how you get experience for each of these things, just very briefly?
Yeah, basically the way we are thinking about these right now, and we have other ideas for skills that we haven't added yet because they don't meet these criteria. For each of these, we want to make sure that there's at least one way that we call like a game loop to gain the skill. So for example, for construction, I can go just like build a road, and every time I'm building that road, I'm gaining XP. So I can just do that forever. And then the other way of advancing the profession, or sorry, advancing the skill, is by doing these tasks for the traveler associated with them. So construction is Brico, cooking is Heimlich, merchanting is Rumbug, sailing is Svim, Slayer is Rampart, and taming is Alessi. And so each of these travelers is kind of the taskmaster for that skill. And so you can do tasks for them that will give you boosts of XP in addition to just the repeatable game loop.
Not only that, though, our road's confirmed. Road experience is confirmed, which is an enormously important thing that I have wanted from the beginning. So anyway, okay, cool. So that's the first one. That's the skill overhaul. Very exciting stuff there. Let's talk about the world map. This is another really exciting change that we've gotten. You've probably seen, if you're looking at stream here in the top right, the map looks a little bit different.
Yeah. So I can open this up here. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks really nice. But basically, what we wanted to do was early in the game, when you were basically so focused on just your own character and you didn't really need to know about the larger world, it made sense to have like everything outside of your explored area be completely invisible. And so as we've gone towards a more like social game where you're playing with other players and you kind of need to have some awareness of things beyond your personal character, we realized that like there needed to be some further information about the world that you could know, even if you haven't explored there. So what you'll notice here is that these settlements, so we have some ruined towns here across this part of the world. We can actually see these locations without exploring those chunks. And so we can take a look at those. If there was a player settlement in this world, we would also be able to see that. And I think we have it so like really like low level settlements, if you're zoomed out all the way, they don't show, or they show as like a dot. And then if you zoom in more, as you can see here, like more stuff kind of will appear. And so right now I can zoom a little bit around the world, but we can get an idea of just how big this world is by like going. So this world is not the same size as the world that's going to be during the playtest or the June 20th release. This is like an internal test server, so it's a smaller world, but you can get an idea of just like even for this smaller world how big this is. And you can see basically the chunks kind of divided up here as we explore each chunk. 0.14% of the world. So that gives you a bit of an idea of just how big we're talking. So I believe it's something close to like 60,000 of these chunks to explore.
Okay, so I also know a lot of people were concerned about not having anything to uncover in terms of new land masses. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we definitely have some aspirations that are not exactly how we want them right now, but what I can say is that we've tried to make it so that like there is information that you don't necessarily have on the world map until you've explored it. So like, for example, knowing which biome there is, like where does this biome, you can see here, I've got two different biomes. I've got this forest and I've got this meadows, but on this side, I have no idea like where that changes, right? I can't really see that boundary. So you can't, some of the biomes you can infer a little bit based on the terrain. We're going to improve that and make it more vague in the future, but there is advantage to like mapping out where the biomes of the world are. There's also certain things that certain icons won't show unless you've explored it. And the plan is almost certainly in the future to have exploration be another skill. And the more of the world that you explore, the more you're going to advance your exploration skill, and that will have its own rewards, such as maybe it increases your climbing skills, maybe it gives you the ability to fast travel more. And so having some sort of progression that like even if people metagame and like share map files outside of the game, there's going to be progression that's directly tied to your character that's going to give you an advantage in the game, like a reward for completing. Like we want, if you take the effort to explore and uncover the whole world, you should get a really substantial reward for that.
Gone042 shouts in chat exploration skill, and
Exactly.
it's Yeah. Um, I will also throw out there that I still think there probably is room. We have to see if it fits in the game. But for having areas of the world which are just completely not, you don't get any information about them until you actually go there. So this
Yes.
would be part of the map would be just completely covered.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
imagine like if you've ever played some other RPG games where they sometimes have like clouds covering part of the map. I think we're looking in the future to add something like that, so we could say, hey, this part of the world, you're not going to be able to see anything about the land shape. Because I think there's something cool about like finding an island like this. It might be a long time before players happen to go the right way that they find out that there's an island here. Um, so I think it does take away some of the magic that we had before when you can just see all the terrain shapes. And so, not for this release, but in the future for release, I do want to add something like what Tyler just described. The last thing I want to mention about the map is that I don't have it set up here to show, but the empires will show on the map, and we have like an improved look for those as well. And notably, you can see the empire territory regardless of whether you've explored it. So um, if you uh, if someone, as soon as you log into the game, you can open the map and you can see where are the empires in the world. And so
yeah.
we felt like that was important for the nature of how empires are supposed to exist within the game. And we found that it was just a bad experience when you could see like an empire has all this territory, but you have no idea like what the terrain is under that. It kind of feels
Right.
meaningless. Um, Someone's saying, is the map layout going to be the same for every server? So this right now is multiple servers. I don't know.
Well, hold on. Let me just clarify that. There
Yeah.
is only one server. There's only one
Yes.
world. It depends on what you want to say.
Yes. So
But it's the same for all players. So all players are going to see the exact same map. They're all going to interact with it.
exactly.
Behind the scenes, we break up the world into different regions.
Yes.
Um,
So I can do a debug thing here. It'll take a second to load. But you can see basically um this is how we divide up the world, and so you can see along here at some point this blue line is the edge of a region. So
I don't
between these
see.
blue lines, these are not, you can, it depends on how you're using the words. These words are very overloaded, but you can think of these as what we would say is this is a world. This whole map is a world. These are 4 regions in the world. Each of these regions you can think of in kind of like a traditional MMO sense as like a world or a server. But these are not necessarily, that's not one-to-one with like hardware servers. But you can think of these as like when you're in this region, there's certain things that you're only having access to within this region, but you can still change regions. It's kind of like it's like similar to Foxhole for the people who are aware of that. So once you enter this other region, you're kind of swapping over to be using a different like logical server.
That's right. Cool. Will there be large scale events? Is an interesting thing, which we have a little bit of. We just stay
Yeah.
tuned.
I think we have a lot of plans. Like I'm a big fan of some of the like meta events and world quests and
Yeah.
stuff like that in other MMOs, and I think there's a potential to do some really cool stuff with that in BitCraft. It's not something we've gotten to yet, but I think probably what this will start out as is us running some more like developer curated events that happen like once per wipe to kind of test the waters of that require a little bit more hands-on, and then as we get some feedback from those, we'll be able to set up more of like a system that schedules these and automates them.
Okay. So, all right. So that's the new world map. Very exciting. Looks really good. It looks so much better than it did when we hacked it in a million years ago, and it never changed. There was actually an early world map for some people who were on the really old versions, which looked really good, but we got rid of that for practical purposes. And now we've brought in back one that's also similarly good looking. So, okay. Next, we got some people talking about it a little bit in chat here. I had a question, hey, can I give other players quests to get me a certain resource and then reward them with my own money and item? That dovetails very nicely into our next topic, which is the town marketplace feature. So, Carter, what did we do there? Take us through that.
Yeah, I'll explain while I run back to the town. But I'd love to show you guys. So, before I answer that, I saw one question that someone said, if Ultimate Kanagi said, if me and my friend want to play together, can we play in the same region or find each other? So I think we're going to touch on this in the fast travel section, but basically the short answer is no matter what happens, if you come into the game and your friend comes into the game and you're not in the same place, we have a system, especially in the beginning of the game, where you can fast travel to like a different starting area. And so that's within the first 5 or 10 minutes in the game, you'll have the opportunity to do that. If you join the game at the same time, there's a very good likelihood you'll end up in the same place due to how we spawn players. So I'll cover that a bit more in the future, but we definitely want to make sure that there is a way for you to start the game with your friend. What is the marketplace? So the marketplace was basically spawned from an issue that we saw in Alpha 3, where we got all these players sharing the towns again, and we thought that was great. However, we saw this issue where all the trades were happening on these player deployable barter stalls. And the issue with that was like, if you're just like, I want to sell a log for like a reasonable price in this town where there's hundreds of other players and plenty of them are buying logs, the problem was there was just not an easy way to do that. Like the UX of that was so disjointed. You had to run around the town. I'm sure someone can post a screenshot of this from the Discord from Alpha 3, but you had to run around the town interacting with like 50 barter stalls to find out if somebody was buying a log. And we just said like, having the barter stalls is a cool system and we're not getting rid of that, but we felt like there needs to be a better way within a large town with hundreds of players to have like a proper marketplace where you can like buy and sell commodities. And so we took a lot of notes from lots of other games that we play, and we created what we think is a very useful marketplace. So this is the Ruined Towns marketplace here. So I can come in here and I can open the marketplace, and basically what this is going to let me do is go through all the categories of items in the game. And what I can actually do here is I can say show all items. And so now this is a list of basically every item in the game.
So we're not sharing the game.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Okay, I'll go back. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Thank you for letting me know.
No worries.
So this is in the Ruined Town. We have one of these marketplaces. Players will be able to build a marketplace in their own towns as well. So if I open this up, by default, when you open it, it's only going to show you stuff that's in stock for buying, but we can come in here and we can say show unavailable. And now we will see all sorts of items that exist in the game. And we can see, for example, like the 10 tiers of bark. So I could see, hey, is there any available? Well, right now there's nobody selling this. So basically you can look up any item in the game and find out if it's for sale. But generally, probably what you want to do is turn this off, and that's going to only show stuff that's being sold right now. We can also come over here. So if I go back here, we'll see that the only thing that's available for sale right now is an oak seed. And there's 2 of them available for 5 coins each. So I could say, I don't have any coins right now, but I could say I want to sell those. And so I guess I'm curious if there's any Clockwork Labs staff in here. If you wanted to log on to the test world and trade me some coins, I'd appreciate that. But what I can show you is some of how this stuff works. So the marketplace, we looked at a lot of other games that have like, what do you call it? Like auction houses and marketplaces. And we decided that we wanted to have 4 features in our marketplace. And the 4 things that you can do are buy, sell, place buy orders, and place sell orders. And so we found that a lot of games allow you to place sell orders and buy, but they don't allow you to place buy orders and then sell to those buy orders. And so we wanted to have all 4. And so I'm pleased to say that we implemented it like that. So I can, for example, come in here to my sell and I can come in here and I can say, okay, so here's what I have in my inventory. So I can say, let's sell some of this rough plant fiber. So I can click into here. And what this is going to try and do first is say, is anybody right now trying to buy it? And it'll tell me what price someone's trying to buy it for. And so if someone was saying buying this for 10 coins each, another person was buying it for 9 coins each, it's going to by default try to sell it to the highest bidder. So I'm going to basically get the best price for it. And I can just say, how much do I want to sell? I set that quantity and I click sell and boom, I'm going to get my money. But in this case, there's nobody selling it, or maybe there's nobody buying it, or the price is not exactly what I want, then I can click create sell order. And now I can say, I'm going to sell these for 3 coins each. And I'm going to sell 11 of my 20. And that's going to basically give me a total of 33 coins when it all sells. So that'll be 3 coins, 11 orders. And I place that. And so just to be clear, each one of those items is kind of listed separately. So it's not like you have to buy all 11 or none. You can buy any quantity now. So if we go to the buy section and we go to show available, now we can see that there is 11 rough plant fiber for sale for 3 coins is the best price. If I come in here and say, for example, I want to sell more of these, I'm going to say, let's sell the rest of the 9, but these ones I'm selling for 4 each. That's going to get me another 36 coins. I'll place that. And now if we click in here to buy, and I see this, so it's still saying now there's 15. Oh no, sorry, I didn't list enough. I'm not sure, I misclicked there. What happened there? So if I come back in here and I go to sell these, create a sell order, I'm not sure why. Maybe I typed the wrong number. I think I typed, I'm not sure what I typed wrong there. Oh, maybe I typed the wrong. I put 9 and 4 instead of 4 and 9. I mixed that up. So let's put this at. Go ahead.
I'm joining the game as well, just FYI.
Cool. I mixed those up. I didn't read carefully enough. So let's sell a few more. So now all my stuff is listed for sale. If we come back here and look at the fiber, so now what we're seeing actually is that the cheapest price to buy it is 2. Which is cool. And then if I click in here, we can actually see like what the various prices are. And so depending on how much I want to buy, but right now I don't have any coins, you'll basically see first I'll buy the 5 for 2, then I'll buy from the 11 at 3, and then later I will buy the 9 coin ones. And so as I drag this slider, it's going to highlight like which of these I'm buying. So I might say like, I only want to buy stuff below a price of 3, so I can choose what quantity will get me that. And so I'm really happy with how the UI and the UX of this turned out. And so I think it gives you a lot of control. And so on the flip side, so this is selling stuff. If I want to buy something, I can come in here and I won't be able to actually place this because I don't have any coins, but I could come in here and let's just say I wanted to go, not that. We're going to improve these categories. This is kind of still placeholder right now. Say I wanted to come by a bucket. I think we just saw empty bucket. Here we go. So say I wanted to buy empty buckets. I can come in here. I could see what other people are currently selling them for. So if I just want to buy it and someone's selling it for 5, then I'll just buy their thing. But no one has it right now. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say like, I want to buy 1 for 1 coin. And I could place this if I had 1 coin. And now when someone comes to the store, it's going to say, hey, you have a bucket, someone's trying to buy it for 1 coin, and then you can basically process that that sell. The last thing that I wanted to show is I can come here to the orders and I can see what stuff I have ready to collect that I've purchased, what stuff I have current buy orders for, and also what are my current sell orders. So right now those I'm hoping to get these coins for these amounts of rough plant fiber that I've put. But if I want to update these, like actually this one I made a mistake, as we remember. So I could come in here and I could edit this back to 4 and I could update that. So now this is corrected to like a reasonable value and I could fix that problem. I could also come in here and I could delete the order and that will basically give me a way to collect this stuff back. So now I can claim these back. What does this marketplace? Oh, so the last thing that I did want to show actually is, so it's going to be hard for me to show this as an example maybe. But basically the last thing that's an important part of this is the trade finder, which is now called the market search. And so what this allows you to do is this is basically a way to search marketplaces across different towns. So in this case, I think it'll be easier actually. I really should have used a client that I could cheat in rather for this stream so I could show a little bit more. But what I can do here is let's just quickly show.
I could enable that, I think, right?
No, I mean if you're playing from the editor, you could do it.
I'm not.
So right now, I believe I'm in region 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to teleport to one of these other regions. And I'll show a little bit more about, or sorry, one of these other towns in the same region. And I'll show a little bit more about the fast travel later. But what I
Yeah,
want to,
I'll throw this out there. It's probably, I don't know if it's probably too late, but Kyria made a great point, which is, why don't we just name the ruined towns
we
as
do,
opposed to
we do name them. It's just not on this test server. We haven't named them.
but they're like West ruined
No, no,
town, if
no.
I remember.
They have names. They have
They
names.
need names. Okay,
Yes,
let's just name
they have
them.
actual names. This is just on this test server. Like these are for internal testing. We don't set all the stuff up because it's just a waste of our
fun.
time. So, but yes, they do have names.
Okay.
So if I come in here and, pardon?
I just thought to myself, like, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? But you guys,
we believe it or not, we've also had thought of that. So, I can come in here. I will put this for sale. So now we have in this second town, we also have an oak seed. So now if I open the market search, we should see 2 towns, and we can basically come under here and we can compare these now. So we can say, hey, oak seeds are for sale in this town, which these will be the names in the actual game. So we can, you can basically compare these. And so if there was other things for sale, obviously you can have this list be very crazy and long, but what you can do is basically just filter down to the item you want. So if I come, this is bugged right now where this should be showing these even if this is not checked. So I'm not sure why that's working like that. But if I come in here and do a sell order and do quantity 20 for price 5, sell those. So now if I open this up, you'll see that in this town that I'm in, it's 9 hexes away. This other town's 400 hexes away. I can see these things for sale. If I wanted to filter down to just like oak seeds, now I can filter that down to just the item I'm caring about. And this is basically something that we didn't have the best user experience for in Alpha 3. But this is basically, you're like, I want to be a merchant. This is your way of doing that. So you come in here, you check various items. You see, hey, I can buy this for this price here and I can sell it for this price here. This is the distance between these towns. That's my trade route, basically. That's how you guys can plan to move stuff around the world. And so we're really hoping that this can be something that drives like people who just want to like logistically move stuff around. Now the market search in combination with the... And here's the cool thing. You don't need to do anything special. You just go there, you buy it for the price if you have enough coins. You go to the other town, you sell it for the buy order. So you basically don't need to worry about some other players doing some special stuff. And so as Tyler mentioned when we were starting this is essentially the system that allows players to make these quests, right? If I want a player to bring me 20 logs, you just put a buy order for the 20 logs. Someone can now take that as a job and basically, hey, if I get these logs and deliver to this person in the marketplace, I can get paid. Or you can even say, I want people to move stuff from here to here. You just create a buy order and a sell order, and it's possible someone might buy it and sell it to somewhere else, but you're creating the demand for players to deliver stuff there for a price.
So good questions. Can you teleport with those items, or do you have to actually run them?
So maybe we jump to the fast travel, because I think that we just showed that a little bit. We don't necessarily need to do these in order. So fast travel was something that was both not super useful, but also abusable in Alpha 3. And we never intended it for it to stay that way, but we took the time now moving to this release to change it so that fast travel is more balanced. I won't say it's perfectly balanced now. And so how does it work? Let's take a look. So the Waystone has an updated model, which looks awesome. And if I open this up, we can see basically what are our options. So notably, these don't say the town names right now, but this will be all actual town names in the actual release. And what we can see here is if I look down here in my HUD, I have a teleportation energy. So this is like a stamina system for using fast travel. So anytime you teleport, you're basically spending your teleportation energy, and it comes back very slowly over time. And so you have a limited amount of fast travel that you can do over time. And if we look here, we can see each fast travel that I can do has a certain cost associated with it. So we can see, for example, these ones within region 3, which are the region I'm in. If we look on the map here, we've got this town, this town, this town. These are not that far apart. And so we can see in the UI here, these are costing around 7, 8. However, you can see here, based on my inventory, if I mouse over this, so actually it's only costing 4, but it's being multiplied by 2 basically because my inventory is full. So if my inventory was totally full, I think the multiplier is like 5x. So this cost of 4 would go up to like 20. Excuse me. So you can see here that like traveling to one of these other regions, like in region 2, this is quite far away, 3,000, 4,000 tiles away. It's going to cost 72. But if my inventory was totally full, I actually, like, I think if I split some stacks up here. So right now it operates on per slot. So you can see quickly here, as I start to fill up more of my inventory, these become not possible to travel. So you can see that basically fast traveling with a full inventory gets prohibitively expensive very quickly. That's not to say it's impossible, but you might need to do several smaller jumps to make it all the way. And you can see that if I click sort here, boom, this is going to collapse my inventory back down as small as possible. And now I'm going to say like, hey, if I want to go to this region, it's going to cost 7. But I'm like, do I really need these seeds? Do I really need this bark? Do I really need this other thing? Maybe not. Now I've just saved myself a few things. So, you know, in reality, I would put them in my bank. But I'm leaving these items in this town so that I can travel with a lighter inventory. So you can fast travel to trade, but the more your inventory is being filled up with stuff, if you're going to buy a tool from another town, that's a simpler thing. If you're going to buy an inventory full of stuff, you may want to walk back, basically.
The interesting thing about this system too is it's very balanceable, right? So like if we don't get the numbers quite right, we can rebalance the numbers. Also, you can even make it in principle so that like you can upgrade a waystone and it takes more or less energy to teleport to or from, or change it
Exactly.
based on the items and stuff. So it's really quite
So one thing that I really
versatile.
believe is a great way we can add progression for the exploration skill is imagine this 100 max energy. Imagine that could go to 110, 120, 130 as you explore more of the world. I think that would be really cool. Or we could say, hey, it regenerates faster. And technically this is actually a stat. So we can get special, like you can get special armor that improves your teleportation regeneration rate. And I won't spoil what it is right now, but there are systems in the game to beyond this like base teleportation energy recovery, which is right now like 1.4 per hour. So you can imagine like this recovers while you're offline as well, but you know, you might only be able to do a little bit of fast travel if you play every day at the same time. That's 24 hours. That's like you maybe regenerate like 30 or 35 per day. So you can't be just like, I can't travel back and forth to this town every day, basically. Or I might need to be on an empty inventory, or I can only do it every other day. So you're thinking about where am I saving this fast travel energy when I really need it, basically. Or it's like, hey, my friend just came on and they're in this town and they want to do something. Okay, I'm going to use it to get over so we can do something now together. But you're not just doing this willy nilly.
It's actually a really cool system. I haven't seen anything exactly like it in any other game. Have you, Carter?
I would say it's most closely based on Albion Online's fast travel, where you can travel around between the main cities, and you pay a premium of gold the more. I think they do it based on the value of your gear, which we don't really have a like
Yeah, that's
average
fair.
market value for stuff, but it's definitely most inspired by that, I would say.
Okay, cool. So this is a super cool system. I think it's going to be really important. It'll allow it to be. Also, it's a really cool system because there's a sort of a penalty for not a penalty, but
Cost.
a cost for being a merchant that doesn't apply to buyers. So if I'm like a once in a while I want to go to the trading town to pick up a thing, I can hop in there. So I can get there really quickly. But the merchant who's consistently moving resources across the map can't be using this as a way to get there. So it increases the size of the market without getting rid of the gameplay of moving the items.
Exactly. And I think the other thing that I didn't mention is that you cannot fast travel at all with cargo, which is still the case from previous playtests. And so the actual best way to move items is not to move items, it's to package them into cargo. So like you can bring a wagon of like 4,000 logs of the same tier from one town to another with just a single wagon, right? Because you can package them into like packages of 100, you can have 40 cargo packages in your cart, so you can move like massive bulk at a time using vehicles by walking there. But the max you could fit in an inventory, I think, is 250, and even then you're paying an insane premium on the teleportation cost. So we really wanted to balance this in a way that, like, not only can merchants, it's not really viable to move items by this, but especially when you factor in the new progression that we've rebalanced for the vehicles and the packaging cargo system, and how that kind of, the fact that you can't transport cargo through fast travel hopefully creates a system where, like, there's incentive to bulk transport a single type of item rather than transporting a mishmash of like a billion items because of how stacking works in your vehicles. So I don't know if this build has all of the up-to-date changes, but for example, I can go talk to Brico here. And so this is maybe actually a good chance to talk about another new system that we've added. So in the past, we would sell the carts and stuff from the travelers. And so you would basically like do these repeatable trades, get money as fast as you could, buy the vehicle, and then you have it forever. Or you could trade it to whoever. We wanted to change this to be more integrated with the skills. And so the vehicles themselves are still tradable, but being able to use certain types of deployables, certain types of weapons, certain types of various things are now tied to progression and special training in the from the various travelers. So for example, we can go over to Brico and we can look at the tasks. So we can see here I'm a level 1 construction. I've got a few tasks here for Brico. So like bringing him some brick slabs, some leather sheeting, some ancient nails. But if I go over to his trades, we can see a few things. So basically, currently I have a basic cart, which I believe we can look at is this one, this regular cart. And so right away I can bring some tier 2 timber and I can trade it to get an improved cart. However, if we so for the cart, I actually already have the training to use it. But if we look at the basic wagon here, if we mouse over it, you'll see that it requires wagon logistics training to use. And so if we scroll down here, we can see that I can get the wagon logistics training. The UI has not been updated for this, but I believe if I go to purchase this, it will say you need level 20 construction to be able to learn wagon training. So at level 1 construction, I can learn cart training and I can get the improved cart or the advanced cart. I can basically get the best cart possible. But to go over and use a different type of vehicle like wagons, you actually need to get a minimum construction level to get the basic training. And then you can start using wagons after that. And so we wanted to make it so that we don't have this system where like the most money you have, you can just get the best of everything instantly. You can, if you have cart training, you can get the best cart possible, but you need to get a certain level of construction improvement before you're able to use any wagon. And so what that means is that, if Tyler's this type of player who really wants to go build roads all day, at some point he's going to get the construction level where he can get wagon training. And now that's like something special that his character has that other players don't. And so other players might be able to use carts, but Tyler can use wagons. And so right now I see some people asking, can I build my own wagon? We're still balancing how you acquire these vehicles. Right now you can get them from trades through here, but that's probably not going to stay final like that. The main thing that we want to make sure that is staying on these travelers is these training manuals, these training scrolls. And so making sure that you can see the same thing if I go to some other travelers. We've kind of split the rewards into categories. So for example, within the types of like pulled vehicles, we have wagons and carts, and maybe we'll have more in the future. And within each of those categories, there's different like advancement levels or like tiers to how good those are. But different categories offer like very different play styles. So like carts are really about like moving items and a little bit of cargo, but wagons are about moving a lot of cargo. So once you unlock the wagon training, that really opens your ability to be to move a lot of items. And that probably these things have interactions, whereas like now that makes you a better merchant, or sailing can make you a better merchant as well.
Yes, I mean, Solo asked a reasonable question, which is, okay, cart usage for construction sounds bad in terms of solo traders. Well, you have to, like, if you want to be a merchant, well, you have to grind construction to be better traders. So, you just said yes. Well, we can balance these things also.
Yes, and I mean, it's possible that carts shouldn't be tied to construction. Maybe they should be tied to merchant, but they ultimately they need to be tied to something. And so we're trying to create alternatives. So like merchant gives you access to caches, construction gives you access to land vehicles, taming gives you access to mounts, and sailing gives you access to boats. So all of these can be used for trade, and all of these can be used for your professions too, right? Like getting a boat for sailing isn't just for trading, it's also for moving items for your professions. So right now the rewards come from one source, but they're used all across the game. So we'll shuffle things around if we find that things are not balanced in the perfect way. So I'm going to throw on some armor here, because armor is now a lot more impactful. So the first thing I can show is that we can actually see here that we've updated the stats. Let me see if I can. I don't know if we have it all in here. Yes, we do. So now we have new stats. So armor basically reduces your damage taken. So now the armor that you get in the game actually has a substantial impact. So you can see that just by throwing on this tier 1 armor, I'm getting 800 armor, which gives me 29 damage reduction. Accuracy is basically, we've now introduced damage. When you attack, it's not like every time you hit, you do the same damage. Now it's like you have a range of damage you can do, and there's also a chance to not hit. So certain weapons are more accurate than others.
Sorry, just a quick heads up. The camera is blocking the tooltips.
Oh,
like our
sorry.
faces,
Thank you.
so we can't really see. But maybe just give a quick overview on like what was the problem with our previous combat.
So the problem was two things. Number one, the combat was like logically very simple, so that like basically you and the enemy take turns attacking each other, and you both have a fixed number of damage that you always do. You always receive the same amount of damage, and so basically you could calculate out in your head like the enemy has this much health, I have this much health, I do this much damage, they do this much damage, I'm gonna win the fight, they're gonna win the fight. It was known at the starting point, or it's like I'm gonna need exactly 3 healing items to survive this fight. We found that was just like it's just like the deterministic outcome is not, it's way too makes it way too boring and simple. So we wanted to add randomness. We wanted to add we also wanted to add more ways for your character to become better or worse, so you can have like interesting trade-offs. So it's not just like I have more damage, therefore I'm better in combat. It's like, well, I can have more armor but less damage, or lower accuracy but higher evasion, and these things all impact whether you get hit, whether you hit, how much damage you do, how much damage you take. And so now we have, with these kind of 4 main knobs, we can now make interesting combinations of these things. And so the other thing, which I already mentioned, is the training. So you can use, if you don't pursue Slayer at all, you can use any tier of weapon. Like the better tiers of weapons, you can still use them even if you don't touch Slayer, but by progressing in Slayer, you get to learn the weapon types. So think of these as like different classes of weapons. And so, for example, in this case, I don't have the skill level right now. But now, or sorry, I didn't have the training, but now if I see in my compendium, I've learned Claymore weapon training. So now I can equip this this Claymore instead of this rusty sword, which I'll throw on the ground. And so now I'm capable of fighting a little bit better. So let us find out, where do we need to go to find some enemies? Let's head towards the end of the meadows. And
VMC
so
Lely says, is it only melee weapons at the moment? No,
it is not. So we do have some new weapon types, which it would be nice if I was able to
find an enemy.
No, I'm gonna have to run out of this biome to see some enemies, but it would be nice if someone who's listening is able to cheat me some of the other weapons. I could show those off, but I'll need the training for them as well. And I might need a Slayer skill boost.
If somebody wanted
if you cheat me the items, that'll be fine. Go ahead.
If somebody wanted to cheat me some stuff as well, I could go help Carter out.
So let's so one thing we can see here is we've also rebalanced. I know we changed some stuff with the way food was working in Alpha 3. We've mostly kept it the same, but we've rebalanced it. So you can see here my my hunger is getting low. And so I can eat a few pieces of food here. And basically, the food is a lot less punishing than it was, specifically because we've moved cooking and food to be a skill rather than a profession. And so the burden of having like a cook be a profession that's kept very busy is not as much. We wanted cooking to be more like we found that cooking was a thing that mostly like everybody would do a little bit because it was just so necessary. We wanted to keep the fact that cooking was a thing that everyone does, but make it like much less of a thing that's constantly being forced on you all the time. And so now that's something where the burden of how often you need to eat is less, but there are still some strong benefits for becoming good at cooking as far as like better foods that you can make. So we've got a foe over here, a jackal. So I'm actually going to hang back here and let myself restore some stamina before I run in there. And so one thing I can show you here actually is that combat is split into kind of two different aspects right now. So we have fighting, which is like Slayer, and we have we also have so hold on. I'm not sure. I think this bug has been improved, but there we go. So for some reason the action bar was not appearing there, but I can come in here and I can fight. And so if we look here, I'm taking 18, I did 16, I'm taking 12, I'm doing 15. And so I can also start to do some of these abilities now, which impact the things. So I can do a strike there. I can do this debilitating strike. I think this, it lowers their accuracy. So now it's going to reduce the ability for the jackal to hit me. So because the enemies also have these stats, it means that there's a lot more interesting moves that we can do where like you can lower their armor, you can lower their accuracy, you can increase your own evasion, you can increase your armor, or maybe you lower your accuracy but increase your armor. Maybe you lower your speed but increase your accuracy. And so we have all these things to tune, whether it's an ability or your gear or whatever. So we can come here, and what we can actually do is I can see if I can turn in that. I can probably kill a few jackals, and we can go turn in one of those tasks. Is something that we can do here.
People are asking about the stuttering also.
Yeah, I think so. Part of it, I think, is the stream. Like I'm looking at the like output of Streamlabs, and it looks more choppy.
Yeah.
But there is a few things here as well. This is like a
something.
Yeah, this is a development build that is not exactly what we're gonna be playtesting with, but I think there might be. Oh, I missed my attack.
You're not gonna live.
Well, we'll see. I can do sword flurry and go crazy. Come on.
Yeah, you're gonna need to.
Oh no, I got him.
Are you sure though?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So So yeah, you can see there is a lot more excitement now. I think the other thing that we're working on improving that still has a long way to go, in my opinion, is the polish of combat. So I think there are some there's definitely some improvements to be made there. I think like the responsiveness of the attacks is something we're working on, the animation variety and kind of the snappiness and VFX and SFX of the animations. I think what we really want to do is make it so that combat, like not only is like solo combat feel like snappier and better, but also group combat is more exciting and engaging too. And like these different weapon classes actually have different roles. So you can have like a glass cannon type of weapon, you can have a tank weapon, you can have a support CC type weapon. And so we're starting to flesh that out, but obviously there's still a long way to go.
Yes. Because there's so many questions in chat about WSD, we see it frequently. I'm going to make a brief comment on WSD, especially as it relates to combat. So nobody else made the choice very early on to make BitCraft WASD. And the reason is primarily, the primary reason, well, I suppose there are two, and they're both pretty central. So the first one is BitCraft is always meant to be a game where you don't have to play incredibly actively. And as soon as you have WSD, in order to do anything, you need to be focused completely on the game, right? If you want to chop a tree, you've got to be pointing at the tree, you've got to be clicking. If you play Valheim, you know this. If you're cutting down like hundreds of trees, it can take you a very long time. You have to be very active. So for that reason, I knew the game should start at least as click to move. And then the other reason is, I suppose, not quite a technical one, but rather, um,
UX maybe.
yeah,
It's a
I guess
combination of technical and UX, I think.
it's a combination of technical and UX, which is just the world is 2.5D, so it's not fully 3D, and that is very intentional. It's intentional so that a for performance reasons and making sure that the world can be big enough and all of that stuff. But then also to get a high enough density of players into one area. If you have 3D world now, your expectations are quite a bit different about what you want to do in that world. And so for those two reasons, it was chosen originally to be WSD. I am not. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
to be click to move. Um,
Yes.
I am not. I have nothing against WASD. It's conceivable that eventually it would maybe make sense, but people want to jump if they have WSD. There are certain things you expect in
Yeah.
a game
So
with WSD.
I can one thing I can say too is like we made a prototype I think I've seen a lot of people in the Discord saying like, "Oh, here's how you could implement WSD." Believe it or not, we've actually done I think very close to what a lot of those suggestions are. Maybe 2-3 years ago, we focus group tested it. We tested it internally. We spent a long time kind of thinking about it, and what we found is that basically, when people are saying that they want WSD, they don't actually want WSD. They want the game to be a 3D game. And so as soon as we give them WSD, they're like, why can't I jump? And then as soon as we say, okay, you can jump, but you're still in 2D, it's like, why can't I jump over this log? Why can't I jump off this cliff? And because the game is 2D. So I see someone asking, how is it not 3D? Am I dumb? So basically, think of it like this. On the game's like code, it's just the whole game is a 2D plane and everything exists. So the thing, this is also why bridges are difficult, because if I had a river here and then land on the other side and I build a bridge, you can't both go over the bridge and under the bridge because it's just 2D. Like these things intersect. And so in the visual representation of the world, we push this 2D plane up and down, but there's no way to go over something or under something. There's only one layer, if that makes sense. So we do have hold to move. I see people asking about that. So like I can hold my cursor and move like this. But this is ultimately, under the hood, this is basically just doing many click to moves in a kind of a more optimized way. So we did prototype WASD. We found that every person who said, I want WASD, when we gave them prototype WASD, the issue was not, oh, I'm so happy now that I have WASD. It was basically like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? And basically, if you follow that line of questioning, it basically led to they didn't want a 2D game is essentially where that led. And so we're at a point and we had kind of committed to the way BitCraft was developed at this point and where we were planning to take it, that we weren't going to just scrap everything and remake a 3D game. I don't hate the idea of that, but for reasons it's not practical. And so we wanted to just we didn't want to improperly set player expectations by providing a really crummy WASD experience. We wanted to kind of stay true to what we think
and I mean, it's conceivable. The future is long.
Yeah.
BitCraft is going to be open source. I don't know if all of you know that, but we made an announcement about that, so you'll be able to literally see the source code of the game. Maybe somebody makes a 3D version of BitCraft. Maybe we do eventually. It's unclear. But the point is, as of right now, we did this for design reasons, which are deep, and WC is merely a thread that uncovers a whole bunch of stuff. And I actually think that this is right for the gameplay of this game. RuneScape would not be RuneScape if it was WSD. Is it possible? Maybe, but that's the situation. So I think with that, NeoSoul brings it up. There's been plenty of discussion on WSD. Let's focus on the new features.
Cool. So what's next on our list? I think that's mostly it for combat. Hopefully, like, when I look at this, I still see all the things I want to improve, but I think if you flash back to what this looked like in Alpha 3, it's miles ahead of that. And I think we're going to keep just chipping away at more and more stuff.
We are. The other thing I'll say is there's not only jackals.
Yes, there's not only jackals.
It looks like there is, but that's...
We have, I think, like 4 or 5 new enemy archetypes, of which we have several variants of each of those. So I think there's like more than 10 or 15 new enemies in the game.
Did we end up getting in the spawners and killing the spawners?
We do have them. I think in this world they're fairly rare, but I was talking with one of the designers for June 20th release about rebalancing how many spawners versus how many just like wild wandering ones we have.
So the nice thing about the spawners is you could kill them and then you can make your area, which was previously not so peaceful, more peaceful. And that's really the point of combat in BitCraft, is to make you feel cozy inside your home. Previously, the jackals were able to teleport inside your home. We're not going to fix that.
I would say, too, we've also changed the respawning. So even if you kill these like wild wandering jackals, they don't respawn for at least, I think, a few hours now. So it's that is something that we've also improved. I don't know if I'm going to make this. Oh, miss.
No, you're not. You're not going to.
Okay, so this is a good chance to also show the updated death mechanics. So in the past, when you died, you were forced teleported home. And so we've actually changed that to kind of accommodate the new state of how combat works and how it's supposed to work. So now basically when you get KO'd, you get stunned for a minute, and then you have a choice. You can either get up or you can go home. And so in either of these cases, you've already incurred these debuffs of being concussed and incapacitated. And we wanted to make sure that previously in Alpha 3, we saw this issue where, like, if you're in your base and you get KO'd, you would just get up, like, respawn again and again and again, and there's no punishment. And if you're out and you get KO'd, you get sent home, and it's like the worst thing ever because you're like, I was so far from base. This is such an inconvenience. And so we wanted to balance both of those things. So now, no matter what, when you get KO'd, you always incur a buff that should have a penalty kind of across a wide variety of stuff in the game. And you also have the choice to get up. So the problem here is, so I can get up, and I think this is probably going to be...
Petition to make this actually go big or go home. And if you go big, you go into permadeath mode.
So it's a good point. So the one thing I'll say is the enemy regen is not working here. So that enemy should have regened a lot more of its health. But you'll see here that now, so I have a short-term buff, which is going to reduce my action speed. So now if I go to cut this tree, we'll see here that now my cutting speed is actually slow. Not the animation for that first one was slow, but you can see like my guy is cutting quite a bit slower than normal because of this KO. So this is across the board. Everything I'm doing is now slow. So getting this 5-minute debuff is pretty, you don't want to get this basically. This is something you'd like to avoid. And then you also have this stacking concussed debuff. So every time you get KO'd before it runs out, it stacks and gets longer. So right now I have a 30-minute of reduced health, reduced speed, and stamina. You'll notice that it's not actually reduced by that much right now. But if I get KO'd again before this 30 minutes is up, it's going to get worse and longer. And so if you get KO'd like 5 times in a row, this can get like insanely punishing. And so what this is kind of balancing is, so, hey, if you're out on an expedition and you keep getting KO'd and, you know, you get back up, you fight the monsters, you get back up, you fight the monsters, eventually this is going to get so overwhelming that it's really inhibiting your ability to keep doing stuff. And so at some point you're gonna be like, I just need to teleport home, or I need to get up and run because I can't handle how debilitated my character's getting. I think it can get up to several hours, but you're definitely doing that to yourself. Like you can always, when you get up, you have, I think, like a 20-second grace period that you can run away, or you can teleport home directly. So I'm actually going to, I'll get KO'd again just to show what that looks like. But
oh, that was quite the underwater bug is always fun.
So I'll let this jackal.
Lara Hall says, "Can you fast heal in a town? Like remove all debuffs for a fee?"
You cannot right now, but that's not a bad idea. I think one thing that is not up to date on this branch is the health regeneration from this food is supposed to be quite a bit higher. So once I've eaten this food that I have for 25 more seconds, I should be recovering more than 1 health per second. Right now it's a little bit too low, I think. I think it should be more like 3 or 4 or 5.
Somebody asked about durability in gear. I don't think we have that on the list of things to talk about.
Yeah, so we did add a durability system. We have plans for this, but with all the other stuff we were working on, we decided to hold off on it because we didn't have a chance to play test it enough. We did prototype it. The way that we want to do durability which I think we'll get to in a minute, maybe how the weapon or the tool and equipment progression upgrading works now. But because these tools are so valuable and like so important and kind of unique, we didn't want to have it so they like get destroyed if they have durability. So instead we have like an kind of like a system where you like sharpen the tool, you use it until it gets dull, and then you sharpen it again. So we have like a durability system, but it's about making it better and then decaying back to like normal or back to like slightly below normal, and then you repair it again to get full power out of it. So I'm gonna go home this time.
Okay.
The other thing that I'll mention is that teleporting home like that is considered a teleport. And so that is also spending your energy. In this case, I think I'd already regenerated some, and that wasn't that far, but it does spend your energy. So you can't just cheese the game by teleporting home.
Does it set your but what happens if you're at 0 teleport energy and
If you're at 0, you can still do it. So
you just stay at 0?
yeah, so teleporting home costs energy. The cost is going to be updated in the future. Right now it's like exceptionally cheap, but it does cost energy, and uniquely teleporting home can be done if you don't have enough. It will just floor you at 0, but teleporting through waystones to any place other than home will not be possible.
One of the ones that I'm most excited for personally, which is the rarity upgrade system for tools and weapons. So give us a quick overview of that.
Yeah, so I would really love...
You want to try to show the grid?
I'm not sure what the best way to do this is. Let me see. So this is basically how the rarity and tier progression system works. So we talked already about how, let me put this. Come on. Bring this down here. There. Okay. We talked already about how we've changed it so that you no longer need to funnel up basic items, so like ingots and planks and stuff like that. However, all equipment, whether that's clothing or armor or weapons or tools, all of this equipment is now upgraded. So once you craft a tier 1, we'll just say tool, for example, but it could also be a weapon, it could be a piece of armor. When you go to craft the tier 2 version, you basically just have one recipe that's like craft the tier 2 version. And what that's going to do is it's going to take your common tier 1 tool and craft it into a common tier 2 tool. Excuse me. And at the same time, there's a chance for it to upgrade to the next rarity level. And what that means is that, so you can never downgrade, you can never upgrade to like the max rarity. Basically, every time you craft up a tier, there's a chance for it to raise in rarity or quality. And so what this means is on your journey from tier 1 to tier 10, you can potentially upgrade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times up to mythic rarity. And but it doesn't necessarily need to happen the first time you upgrade it. It can happen anywhere along this, and so it can't go down. So the thing that might happen though is if you get to tier 8 and you're still common, it might not be worth spending the resources to upgrade that to tier 9 and tier 10, because it's pretty actually unlucky to get all the way to tier 8 and not have it raised from common. The chance of getting mythic tier 10 is something like 1 in 10,000. It's like very, very low. The chance for each tier gets lower and lower the higher it gets. So
can I go from common to epic in the next tier, for example?
No, it can only raise by 1 rarity level per tier. The thing that I'll say though is overall, if you take an item from tier 1 to tier 10, it's most likely that it ends up at like uncommon or rare rather than common. Like you would have to be exceptionally unlucky to have it go 10 times without upgrading. I think the chance of going from common to uncommon is like 30% to go to uncommon. And so basically you'd have to roll like 70% 10 times in a row to stay common the whole time. Obviously, to go from uncommon to rare, it's lower. To go from rare to epic, it's lower. To go from legendary to mythic, it's very, very low. And to go from all the way from common to mythic, it's extremely low. I think the actual lowest chance thing possible is to go from common tier 1 to mythic tier 6. Like that would actually be the most rare thing. Right. But once you get it to a certain tier, it's guaranteed to stay. Sorry, once you get it to a certain rarity, as you upgrade it to the tiers beyond that, it's guaranteed to stay at that rarity. It's never going to go lower, so it can only get better.
Mythic tier 6 items are going to be like for people
Yes.
to just show off.
They're
they have the
also
least common.
extremely strong, because the beauty is when you're tier 6, you can only use tier 6
Right.
weapon or tools, weapons, whatever. So having access to the most rare version of the highest tier that you have access to is going to be the best. And so there's an algorithm that determines like how strong is a tool based on its tier and its rarity, that you guys will figure out once you see it. But we'll just say that getting slightly rarer rarity levels has a pretty big impact. The impact on the highest rarity levels tapers off, so that like the difference between a legendary tier 10 and a mythic tier 10 is small, but the difference between a common tier 10 and a rare tier 10 is much larger. So you're going to get a really big impact for the stuff that has a moderate chance, but the stuff that is a really, really tiny chance, you're getting incremental returns there.
Does your skill level impact the drop tables, basically?
Right now it doesn't. We kind of like the idea of doing this, but it can have challenging effects on the motivations. And so one thing that we saw in the past that we moved away from, that we don't want to bring back, is this thing where it's like only the best level person can do a lot of stuff, because they're like rolling the dice on, like, if someone's crafting something and there's a chance to get double if you have a high skill level, if you're using a rare ingredient to craft it, only the best person should really be crafting that. Otherwise, you're wasting the chance, right? And so
you're destroying the resources.
You're destroying the resources because you're not using the best chance. We didn't want to make it so that like only the highest level person of a certain profession has a monopoly on crafting all of these upgrades. We really feel like the game is better when anybody who can do it has the same level. I could see doing it so like if you have better equipment that can like certain clothing like raises your chance of making more rare stuff. I think that's a better way to do it, because those things can move around. They can be part of the economy as opposed to something that's just inherent to one player. Doing something.
All right. Maybe we just stick with we already went over briefly the world region system, but maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And that's something that I can also speak to.
So yeah, what I wanted to see, I don't know if there's a quick way for me to do it. I wanted to go to one of these region borders to show how this looks. Oh, someone's set up an empire over here. So you can see there like what a player settlement in an empire might look like. So I think this is what an empire capital city looks like. I'm still sharing, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you are.
We can talk a little bit. I saw people asking about the transferring between regions and what that looks like. So someone said like, oh, seamless borders. So currently the game is not seamless. The way it works is it's very similar to Foxhole, if you're familiar with that, where you get to the edge, there's kind of like a ghost wall, and then you say like, I want to change to the next region. People are asking instance. There's no nothing is instanced in the whole game. So basically, if you're at some position in the world, as you can see in the like coordinates here, if any other player goes to that position, they will see you. There is no like they're in a phase or they're in an instance or something like that. Even in the caves and stuff like that, if someone goes to that position, goes into that, houses are not instanced. Yeah,
houses are not instanced either. Also true.
If any player comes to the house that you live in and they go into your house, they will see you. So all that is nothing there is instanced. So basically, if you are anywhere in the world, if another player comes to where you are, they will see you. There is no world where like you're in an alternate dimension of the same place. So
including dungeons,
including caves, including your house, including anything. So yeah, so I see people saying like I meant load between them. Yeah, so there people use these words in a very overloaded way, but when we're talking about instances, we're talking about like copies of the same physical virtual space that different players are in.
Yes. Now I will mention this. So Ejim's Workshop says this is where we're about to slice the bologna very thin. I was mistaken in thinking multiple players can rent the same house then. So we do potentially manipulate the size of internals of buildings. So it's possible we say in a building there are multiple rooms.
Yes.
Right. And you have one room over here and you have one room over here. And it actually is bigger than what you could physically look like it could fit in the thing.
Yeah. You can think of like Animal Crossing, like maxed out house. You could have many, many rooms in there, and like different players are living in different rooms of that house. and you can teleport directly from the front door. You can teleport directly into one of those rooms, but all those rooms exist, and any player can go into any of those rooms, assuming
Yes.
that they're accepting visitors. Like if you,
And that's where the bologna is very thinly sliced,
yes,
because is that an instance? It's hard to say. I mean, not
well,
technically, no, in the
I,
back end, and there's a
I,
big difference between that.
yes, it's not
But
technically, and what this means is that there's never a limitation from a technical standpoint of like, oh, like I'll tell you this. Think of another game where you have like a player house, like whether it's like the WoW garrisons, whether it's the uh Palia homestead or whatever. And think about this. Can you go to another player's house when they're offline? I think in all these cases, the answer is always no, because it's instanced. And in BitCraft, you can go to any player's house if you have permission when they're offline, whether they're online, whether they're in another region, it doesn't matter. That house space exists. Yes, Fractured is a game where this is true, but the inside of those houses are not in a separate dimension or whatever. Like it's physically in the space. I think like Rust is another game where like your house is not some like pocket thing. It's just it physically exists in the world. You're building the walls around you. But think of another game where like you're actually basically I think BitCraft is the no, there are other games I can think of that do this, but BitCraft, like you can have a house that is bigger inside than outside, like you're kind of going inside the house into a separate dimension, but that dimension is not a like separate phase or instance in the world. Anybody can follow through those portals, assuming they have the permissions, and end up in the same space.
so I'll give you an example of a game like World of Warcraft where it's not instance, but is similar, and then there's a same in that same game. There's an instance. So in the case of like player housing, or at least in Lord of the Rings Online, which I'm more familiar with, the player housing, you go to a neighborhood and the neighborhoods are all there, but they never create one just for you and your party to go into. It's always there, and if two people go to the same one, they both end up there. Whereas in an instance, it's created specifically for you, and that's easier to do on the back end than to just always have the data there. You see the difference? It's a little bit tricky, but anyway, that's what I will also say is just talk about this multi-region thing. What people, when you, if it's seamless, if you really can't tell when you're crossing from one to the other, that is what has been recently named server meshing by the Star Citizen folks. That is something that we could eventually do. It's tricky because you need one server to be able to also see across the boundary. So not only, it's actually easy to have your client see across the boundary. It's harder to have the server also see across the boundary. And then any effects that are happening, like if you have AoE in one region, it needs to be applied across to the other region.
Yes.
That is definitely possible with SpaceMDB, which is our backend, but is not easy. So that's the situation.
And for us, it's a lot of a matter of priorities, right? It's like we could spend a ton of engineering resources making the border seamless, or we could spend all those resources. It's like really like how much stuff in the details is happening along this border, especially when it's in the middle of the ocean for the most part. Like, can we just spend that energy making more systems, making combat better, making the game more fun? Right now, we think that's a better use of our resources. So it's definitely something that would be cool to do eventually, but I think it's not the most pressing thing for the game right now.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to find out. I mean, if the game's not fun, ain't nobody going to play it. If the game has server messaging that has no impact on really whether it's really actually fun, if we can get enough players into the same region, and that goes to some of the performance improvements we made both in the game and also on SpaceTimeDB in the interim period, where we're looking to get as many players into one region as possible without telling people like, oh, it's too full to join.
Someone just asked, will closed alpha players have access to their accounts? So your account and your your alpha supporter badge, all of that stuff is still persisted. That will give you access to the game when we go into beta/Steam early access. However, all the progress between each closed alpha was wiped. So if you played in a previous alpha, that's been wiped. If you play in the demo that's happening in 2 days, that will be wiped at the end of that demo. And when we launch the game into early access on June 20th, that will be a fresh start, and that will go for as long as possible. Eventually, at some point, that will wipe as well. So the goal starting from June 20th is to have the game go for as long as possible before we wipe it. There's a number of things that might increase our motivation to do a wipe. Kind of the first one basically being like technical changes. So like if there's some stuff that we want to change in the game, like such as how we generate the world or how changing the way biome density works or things like that, these are things that we just need to regenerate the world to actually apply to the game. As well as like meaningfully changing the distribution of resources. That's not something we can easily change without generating the world again. That said, we can regenerate the world and not necessarily wipe your character. So we've talked about ways of doing a wipe where we wipe the world, but you keep your skills and you keep your equipment too. So I think basically from June 20th onward, we want to wipe as little as possible, but there's a number of things that might motivate us to do a wipe. I think realistically, we'll probably do a wipe in around 6 months. After that, probably at the ceiling.
Maybe we could show people the border crossing.
Yeah, so I would like to. It's going to take me about 20 minutes to get there. So I don't know if.
All right. Well, let's look at what the other things are we could.
So the thing that I can do is I can cross to a different region through the Waystone, which is what I was getting ready to show here. So the cool thing is teleporting within your region. So right now I'm in region 3. We can see that these are obviously closer, but I can teleport to another region. The UX should be almost identical. The only difference is if this other region is totally packed with players, similar to Foxhole, you might have to wait in a queue before you can enter the region. So we can try this, and then we can see about maybe coming back via a crossing a border. So one thing I can just quickly show here. So now I've traveled to this other region, so we can see that I'm in a totally different part of the world. And if we scroll around here, we can see like this is the region where I was previously. So one thing you can't see right now is there's actually my home is still here, so I can teleport home, but these other icons for the towns are not currently visible. Eventually, we're going to get this working cross region, but right now it's not set up. So, I can see I'm down over here, and I can see other towns and stuff within this region. So I believe empires and certain icons you can see globally across all the regions. In the future, we're going to have more of like the settlement icons. There's a few other things, but basically we have a list of stuff that should be visible across region. This has been a massive undertaking to make this whole thing, like have all the data be shared and passed around through all the regions and have this all work. And so we started with the foundations and we're building up to get it more complexity, basically.
Shall we go to the world resource visual upgrade?
Yeah. So I forgot what I was going to do. So what I wanted to show with that is basically, so one thing we've done is we've added the more tiers of stuff. This is a good example. So I can pull up the crushed ore here. So you can see here with these, we don't actually, I wish I got a tooltip when I moused over these, but you can see that we have the 10 tiers of all the core progression items. So basically everything relating to the professions, we have 10 tiers now. People are asking, how's the progression between the tiers? The XP requirement is still the same. It's an exponential function, but the amount of XP that you get for actions at each tier has been balanced to be, I believe, slower than it was previously. Or the scaling is slower. But we can see if we click into these, we've kind of created a bit of a color palette system. So tier 1, we have this gray background, and we have this kind of iron colored metal. If we jump up to a different tier, we can see that we have the tier 3 is more green, and we've got like the ore is actually kind of a green color. We can jump up to tier 5, which is now red. We've got the metal, basically the metal color and the background colors are all kind of matching. And so we can jump up to here. We've got kind of black, and then we've got this like whitish blue. We've got this kind of turquoise. So we have all these different colors that match the tiers, and we've kind of not all of it's in this build here, but we've incorporated that also into like the environment. So not much has changed in this biome, but if we look over here, like previously Pyrolite was tier 1, now Pyrolite I believe is tier 2, and instead we have this ferrous. So this kind of like this like gray background stuff, we kind of have this more like gray, dark gray, ironish color. And so if I gather these, if I gather this, I'm gonna get stuff that matches with this. Obviously the metals kind of tie more directly to the colors. Other things, it's more of like a softer connection. I think we can go over and look at some of the fish as well. I think those are ones that are more directly colored as well.
Do you have something in place for colorblind people to be able to tell the differences by glance? I am colorblind.
Yes. So
they have asked me frequently.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, anytime you're using color, there's not like a silver bullet for color, other than if you have like, in like some games you choose a colorblind mode and that like updates all the colors across the game. We haven't gotten to a point of supporting something like that yet. If you're doing stuff with colors, there's going to be some trade-off. If you make all the colors in the game optimized for colorblind people, they're not going to be optimized for non-colorblind people or different types of colorblind people. So right now we have the colors that are kind of augmenting the usability, but we wanted to make sure that if you played the whole game in black and white or with whatever color blindness someone might have, there's enough cues otherwise. So for example, you can see here, all of these tiered items have the tier in the top left corner. So there's no guessing there. If we go into the trades here, the market search, there's nothing for sale in here. But we can go into, I guess, the compendium here. We can see like we've got the Roman numeral on these ones to see the colors. If I mouse over these, I can also see tier 3 clay lump. So basically there's always, the color is never the only way of communicating something. It's like it's an additive kind of augmenting. Someone did cheat me a writ of settlement foundation, so I can throw down a settlement. So we can see here we've got a whole bunch of different types of fish. I think there's still room for improvement here, but I think it does help a lot more. So we've got like these let's see here. So these ones over here. So I mean, they're not like super strongly colored, but basically these are kind of like a dark blue or a grayish blue, and I'm guessing these are also, so you can also this maybe is a good time to show the targeting system. So anytime you're interacting with stuff now, we have a general targeting system. So at any point I can just target these fish here and see that it requires a fishing rod tier 1, it's level 1 fishing, and it's tier 1 bait fish. So let's come over here and stand on land.
Targeting system is awesome. Carter snuck that one in. That was not on the planned on the roadmap, but it is great.
Yeah, it was like we had half implemented it before Alpha 3, and it was kind of like in this half working, half implemented state that we just said like, this is such a big UX improvement if we just commit to finishing this. I think the last thing that we didn't get to that I understand for scope reasons we couldn't do, but I want to do in the future is I want to improve the action bar. I think moving to a more traditional action bar system. Right now we have this weird thing where it's like it's automatically swapping your like hunting action bar and your combat action bar, and it's really just only for combat now. I want to be able to like bind items on the action bar, customize your action bar however you want, make macros, make emote actions, like all that stuff that you get in basically any other game with an action bar, you should be able to do in BitCraft. I think it's like a good way of doing that. So one thing that's cool that I can show here on the targeting though is like I can be gathering this resource here, and I can be like going around. I'm not sure. Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong key. I can be gathering this, and I can be basically like tabbing around to various other resources and seeing what do I need. So, there's medium pyrolite here. That's tier 2 pickaxe, level 20 mining. It's a tier 2 ore vein, and it's at full health. So I could be thinking, I don't have the requirements for this, but what about these fish? Well, some of these icons are still not being updated yet, but this is actually a tier 1 fish here that I can gather, but maybe right now it's red because I'm missing bait. So I'm going to go get some bait, and then I can come back and I can fish this. But what about that orange one over there? Well, that orange one is the tier 2 Emberfim shiners, and so I need to get level 20 and a tier 2 rod before I can gather those. So I think it's really cool. It also shows like if I run back to this, let's actually we're going to go on a journey back to our main region. Hopefully my UI stays this time, and it did. Okay. So let us go over to the fishing station over here. And so one thing we've also been kind of improving is we have the labels system. So you can customize how this works now, but basically you can turn on these building labels, which makes it a lot easier to like find what you're looking for. So I can come over here to the fishing station, and I can open this up, and I can craft some bait. And the cool thing here is now I'm level 2 fishing. And basically, I can be targeting this building while I'm doing this activity, but I can go like check out these other buildings. I can target this traveler. I can target another player. And the cool thing too is you can also like get your context menu from these. So if I'm say I wanted to go to that carpentry station next, I could be here without it even in sight, and I could click craft. And now I'm going to go over and craft at that when I'm done. The other thing I can do here is I can interact with this building again, and I can work on this. And if I target something else, I guess it's not implemented right now, but there will be a way that we've designed for you to click on something down here to like retarget the thing that you're interacting with. So that's another thing. Someone's asking, does bait enable fishing or speed it up? So the way the fishing works is there's like 3 sizes of fish. The small fish you can just catch with nothing. Then you turn them into bait to catch the medium fish. Then you turn a mixture of those things and other stuff to make chum to catch the largest fish. And those ones are only found out in like the open ocean and the really deep water.
Did we? I am not familiar with the details. Did we make any improvements to hunting since the last playtest?
It benefited from some of the changes we made to combat. So I can run over here and hunt this bird. So we can target this and do this. The hunting doesn't have much depth, kind of by design right now, but I think it's a little bit more responsive in terms of like how your character chases the monsters, or sorry, the huntable animals.
Yeah, so
it used to be like it used to be more jittery, and like your character would like stop and start a lot more. I think your character like only moves forward now when they're out of range and they chase the animals down. One other thing that this can show too is now when you drop stuff on the ground, it has an ownership. So when you hunt an animal, the ownership is quite short. So I can pick that up. But if I drop this now and look at it again, it actually has a longer time. So the other cool thing, I think this is maybe jumping ahead to a later one, but I can also drop other stuff on the ground here, and all this stuff is owned by me for some time. And so what does that mean? It means that actually nobody else can see this stuff on the ground until this timer runs out. And once this timer runs out, then it becomes a public item pouch, and anybody can go up and just grab it. One of the cool things about this too is if you're on a claim, in the past we had all these weird things where like if someone drops an item on a claim, the item belongs to the claim. So the pouch, someone's asking how long does it last? So it lasts right now for 5 minutes, I believe, if you drop items owned by you. And after the 5 minutes, then I think it lasts for another hour, maybe publicly. This is something we're still balancing, but I believe that's what it's set to right now. So if someone says, do you guys have tech to deal with mass item drops? So if you drop stuff within the same area, it goes to the same item pile. So like if I stand here and drop this, it's going to join this item pile. If I go sufficiently far away, it will go separately, as we can see here. If something's
basically we cooked, to be real.
Yeah, I think there are still some cases where like if someone's dropping items that are effectively like garbage, basically, then you can have a bit of clutter. I do think we want to add a way to like destroy items at some point, but for right now, I think it's something we're just gonna be keeping tabs on for the next release. So the thing that I was heading towards is I would like to show the setting up a claim and kind of how that works a little bit. Oh, here we go. So we can see some of the empires here. The Pugpire.
Very exciting. Follows the water now, which is cool.
Yeah. So basically, if you come into the world, you can see this territory. If the territory is all contiguous, I think you get like a nice, better name. This is kind of like a weird.
Zediver, I don't think you can bypass that timer. Can you like release your ownership intentionally?
You can't, but you can trade with other players. So if you want to like give something to someone without having them wait 5 minutes, basically you can drop stuff on the ground. Dropping stuff on the ground is like you're throwing it away, generally speaking, or your inventory is so full it's dropping on the ground. You either want to recollect that in a timely manner. If you want to trade something to someone, you should use the marketplace, or you should trade it to them.
I'll just say it's also not hard if that ends up being like sad for some reason, to just make it so you click a little lock and now it unlocks. And
like a release. Yeah, like I think a release button could be like a simple addition. Yeah.
So we're going to the Pugpire Empire stuff.
Well, we're gonna go. Actually, you know what? I was gonna go the other way, but let's go to this way, and then we can join this empire. I think that would be more
A
fun.
good question from somebody: are they allowed to be non-contiguous in alpha? Because obviously this one is on non-contiguous.
So nothing's changed with empires as far as the rules and restrictions of these. They've always been allowed to be uncontiguous, but if you are uncontiguous, the maintenance cost goes up quite a bit. Like I think it's like 2 or 3x just by being non-contiguous.
Does that apply across water? Presumably, yes.
Yeah, yes. So you can't build a watchtower to extend the territory within purely on water. You need some sort of land. So if you have an empire that's totally separated by water, so here's the thing: it can be non-contiguous and not be penalized, but it needs to have another town on that other side. So, for example, in this Pugpire, they have the capital city here. They have this territory. So all of this is contiguous. They have territory over here that has presumably no settlement in it, that's associated with the Pugpire. And so if I go build my settlement here, right now this is non-contiguous from a aligned settlement. If I build a settlement and join the Pugpire, now this is contiguous with an aligned settlement. So this is part of the incentive of like, you can have an empire that's distributed, but you need like settlements that belong to your empire in that other territory to like, you still have to transport the goods all the way there, or the empire energy capsules, but you're not getting a penalty.
Yes, we wanted to make it so that the Roman Empire was possible.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where you have like a Mediterranean empire, because that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you can build empires. You can have an empire that goes across all the regions. You can have an empire that has like, maybe they own like this area on this empire and this continent, but they also own like these islands down here. You can build an empire like that as long as you can do it no matter what, but these islands are going to be harder to maintain unless you have some outposts down here, right? Having those settlements down there, they're good for logistics because you can store stuff there, but they also lower the maintenance costs basically.
Empires, there will be empire wars. Yes. Where you're claiming land over empires. But not for towns. Towns can exist in an empire, but they are not the same layer.
We think of it like this. So characters exist in the world. Characters never have physical space other than their house. Settlements own land in the world, so they basically authoritatively control land. Empires have aligned territory. So territory is basically, think of it as like a soft influence over an area. So empires, and only one empire can have that at the same time. So an empire can say like, this is my land, like this is my territory. They don't have like claim level permissions over that. You can have a settlement and some empire takes over your territory and they can't like force you to do something, but they're preventing other empires from having that territory. And so if I come into the Pugpire, there's nothing stopping me from setting up a settlement here, because it's not claimed in any way. But if I set up my claim here and I wanted to join some other empire, there might be complications with that, of like, I might need to convince my empire to like liberate this territory from the Pugpire.
And it does say, I'll just note, Pugpire ruled by
AG.
You're leaving the contested area and you're joining the Pugpire ruled by AG, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, so let's head over to the center here. We can go near the watchtower, and maybe that's a good chance to show. I guess another feature that we added is the empire flags. So we can go visit the capital city here later, but ooh, we're getting into the forest here. So we can see there's so now that I've uncovered this area, I can see that this is where the watchtower is. That's creating this this area. So we can see here. So the new empire territories are So Alex set up his Pugpire and he gave it this flag. So now anything associated with this empire will have like the flag and flag colors. So I believe I can come here and I can join his empire. And now I should be able to, I hope this works. I haven't tested this in a while. Come in here, and now that I'm part of this empire, I can wear the Pugpire cape. And so now I'm a citizen of the Pugpire.
Hell yes. And by the way, you get the little emblem. Isn't that exciting?
Yes.
I personally think that's extremely exciting.
So basically, for right now, capes are only attached to empires. In the future, we're going to expand that. But I think it creates a cool way for you to kind of like for empires to have more
If
impact
you
on
have
like
a
the world.
if
Go
you have a
ahead.
sufficiently large and influential empire, send us a message on Discord. Maybe we'll get you a custom logo into the game.
Yeah. So I think
Like
let me.
so these are custom logos. So just to be clear, these are custom logos. You can change them, but you can build them from things in the game,
It's
kind of
like
like the Halo
we have like a
emblems.
flag editor
Yeah,
system.
but we could potentially, if you were of a particularly important customer, we could perhaps get your logo in the actual game. Trick
I'm
me.
gonna set up a few things. One thing I wanted to show too is we added up. So we for those who don't know, this has not changed since Alpha 3, but we added some more options. So you have your equipment, and equipment is basically what gives you your stats. So if I mouse over this, you can see this helmet is giving me, excuse me, health and armor and accuracy. I can take this off and I will lose those stats. My health has gone down to 230. If I put it back on, it goes back up. At the same time, you can take equipment and you can also add the appearance to your vault, which consumes the item. So I'm going to throw this back on and kill this jackal before I die. But you can see that other things that I've collected the appearance of. So for example, the grass skirt and shirt that I started wearing with, I started wearing when I spawned. I can add those to my vault and I can actually use those as like appearances. So even though I'm wearing, let's grab that. Even though right now I'm wearing the plated pyrolite stuff, I can actually come in here and I can make the appearance of this look like I'm wearing these grass clothes from before. So there's definitely you'll notice that the jackals are a little bit more easy to deal with now. We've balanced them so that with tier 1 armor and weapons, you should be able to handle a jackal 1 versus 1. There are groups of jackals and there are stronger jackal type foes. Well, we'll see if I can actually do this. I feel like I'm attacking quite slow. Come on. All right. We survived. But you can also come in here, like, if you really want to, you can say, I really wish people could see my beautiful hair, so I'm gonna take that off, and I'd rather just look like a grass wearing person. So I was gonna come in here, not planting, paving. I need to fix that still. There's
Do
some
we have
content.
more skirts and dresses now? Pretty please. We're filling out the content.
Yes, we're going to be adding a lot more. I'm not sure what happened there. Some of these.
It's exciting to see all of our the players I recognize who are infamous or famous in our game.
So let us. So I've just started my own settlement. So we can see here that I used one of these. It's this like writ of settlement foundation. So now I've placed this, and you can see this green border here. This is now my settlement. And so if I interact with this, so entering claimed area, welcome home. So I can name this, and I can call this Minch's Retreat. Let's call it that. So now if we open the map, everybody can see Minch's Retreat, Minch's Claim on the map here. So even if a new player spawned in here, they would be able to see, oh, this is the Pugpire, and there's Minch's Retreat, and there's this claimed area that Alex hasn't named. Unfortunately, if they show up here, they wouldn't be in for much nice stuff. And so ideally what I would then like to do, let's take a look in here. So we can see if there's members. Members are like whitelisted players that have elevated permissions in addition above the basic permissions that people can do for public claims. In the research here, we can see basically what we can do to advance the claim. So if I open here, first let's just do this unlock tier 2. So
Carter, just heads up, I'll be BRB. I'm just gonna
sure.
run.
Yeah, sure. So the main thing that claims are trying to do is claims provide infrastructure for players who are focused on their characters, who don't have their own settlement. And so by researching tier 2 here, what this is going to allow me to do is build tier 2 buildings on the claim, which allows players to craft tier 2 stuff and do tier 2 activities. So right now the ruined towns are up to tier 2, but in order to get beyond tier 2, you actually are going to need player settlements to exist and be upgraded sufficiently. So right now I'm researching this, and I'm actually spending some of my supplies to do this. We have this recruitment system that's to be honest, we don't do this. It's not super important now that towns are public, but we still have it. So I could say, hey, I'm recruiting I really need a level 20 blacksmith because I would like to craft something in the town. So I can create an opening here, and now someone can join as a member, and then I can edit their permissions to I think, can I do this? So I could invite the AG, the leader of the Pugpire, to be an honorary member of my claim as well. The last thing that I want to show is the treasury. So what is the treasury? The treasury is a way for your claim to earn, like basically make coins and also spend coins. So in this case, if I go to the status here, we can see that with my 4,990 supplies, my current drain rate is 16 per hour. That gives me 12 days of upkeep. However, if I decide, this claim is not nearly big enough. Unfortunately, it's very forested. It's a little bit hard to see, but this claim is not nearly big enough. One thing I can do is I can go into build mode, and I can go to claim, and I can just come in here and I can say, let's make this claim bigger. So I can start expanding and make our claims area bigger in whatever shape I want. And as I do this, two things are going to happen. So number one, I'm getting a bigger claim, and I can then go over here and see how does that impact this. So now I'm at 17 supplies per hour. I think it probably just rounded up because I don't think I increased it by 1/15 of the area. But you can also see the stability here. So the stability is a factor that makes it so, like, if I make a claim that's like really, really long, it's going to have low stability. Having a claim that's more like circular is going to have the highest stability. And as the stability gets lower, this cost is going to ramp up. And so there were some balancing issues with this in the last Alpha 3 where it wasn't as aggressive as it should have been. But it makes it so that having a really unstable claim is much more punishing now. Someone asked why that design. So the reason why we have stability is, number one, you could make a claim that's like a giant, like one tile wide, like loop. And then you're basically having a big empty area that's unclaimed inside that then you're still blocking off by having a claimed wall around it. So for example, I could come in here and I could say, I actually want to lower my total tiles. Oh, sorry, I can't lower these ones, but I could like remove some tiles from here so I don't have to like pay for these tiles. But if I make it so no other players can reach these tiles, it's basically like I own them. And so this type of thing will be penalized in the stability. So you can do that for a small thing like this, but you're not really saving that much by removing 4 tiles. If you do this at a large scale, the stability kind of balances that out. So you can't just, it's similar to like, if you've ever played a game that has like building systems like Rust, where you can like, why can't you just build a 1 tile wide tower all the way to the skybox? Well, the game designers don't want you to be able to do that for a variety of reasons. And so they have like a stability system that kind of limits how you can do that. You can still build tall, but you need to build wide to do that. You can still build a really wide base, but you need to have enough stability in other dimensions to keep it. That's that. You can see here that right now my total area is at 800 of 1,000, and I've reached tier 2. Someone was asking, how do I raise the tier? So if I expand this, you can see here, basically to raise the next tier, I need to get to tier 3, I need these tier 2 journals, which are basically an item that you can craft. So I can't just go directly to tier 3. I need to master tier 2 by like getting all these tier 2 items and creating these journals, and then I can use that. And it also takes time and it takes supplies. So you can see here that like basically very quickly I can start this claim. and it can last a while. But if I start to expand this claim a lot, or if I want to really level up this claim, it's going to take larger investments in the research. And also, if I want to make this claim desirable for players to come to, I'm going to need to really develop it. And I'm going to need to build some of these like crafting stations to really make it good. Unfortunately, in this case, I haven't discovered basically any items. But as I discover items, for example, I could build a well.
You didn't talk about item recovery, but
we can show that one quick, I think.
Yeah, just a brief one there. And then the other one that would be cool is the redesigned chat system, which I think might be a popular one.
But basically, I can explain the way item recovery works. So if this was not my town, actually, well, let's see here. Maybe we can go over to this other settlement. I'll start walking over here for now. So the other thing too is the way you set your home is you actually set your home to a claim. So I can come here and I can set this as my home. And now when I teleport home, I will come back to my claim instead of to that ruined town. And basically our vision for the game is that at the beginning of the game, before players have the means to set up their towns, any player who just comes in the game, they don't need to worry about finding a town. They can just go to the ruins towns and they can start playing the game and building up their character. But over time, you're going to need players to build their own towns, and you're going to want these to build in advance. And basically, at some point, you're not going to be able to progress in the game unless some towns reach higher levels and higher tiers and build the right structures needed. Someone's saying, is there a limit to how much you can stockpile? So as you upgrade your claim, I think I can show it here. You can see here that I have a maximum of 12,000. If I go into my research though and go under tier 2, I can upgrade things. So I can become a empire. I can become a claim that can be an empire capital by upgrading this. I can also get change my max supplies from 12,000 to 24,000. So I can double my max supplies by getting this research, but it costs supplies to do that. So let's just say I research that. So that's going to research for the next 3 hours. I don't know why this is 2 hours and 3 minutes. That can't be right. So I'll research that, and while that's researching, once that's done, then I can have a larger max amount. Supplies are not purchased with hex coins anymore. Instead, I think they might still be able to in some niche cases, but primarily supplies are crafted. So I can, for example, if I open the compendium here and I go to cargo and I go to timber. So timber is a cargo item that is not dropped by saggy birds and jackals. I'm not sure. This is a bug. But I can come down here and I can say that I can craft rough timber out of planks. So if I make a bunch of planks, I turn it into a rough timber. I can come back here and I can see that this is...
What is a wolf carter if not a tree?
It's weird that it doesn't say here, but here you can see that this is worth 100 supplies. So you can get an idea. I think probably this value is maybe a little low, but you can see that basically I can basically sync these items to gain these supplies. I believe this has already been updated. These values are not correct. This has been updated. But you can get an idea of like, basically you can just turn the natural environment into refined items, and then you can use those to add, basically you create this timber and you add this to the center of your claim, and that will refill its supplies. So we'll see if I can head my way down to the Pugpire here. And while I'm doing that, I'll explain how item recovery works. So item recovery is a system so that if you just join the game and you decide you've progressed maybe as far as you can in a ruin settlement and you want to go to a player settlement, say you go there, say that settlement has a bank, it has a trading post or a marketplace, it has crafting stations. You start using these and you start doing all this stuff. What happens if that claim doesn't support itself? Like, the owners just quit the game and the claim is just sitting there decaying, and eventually your buildings are at risk. Of course, at some point you can take over the claim if it gets abandoned, but if you're not paying attention closely, it could be the case that the buildings decay. So if the bank on the claim decays because the claim decays, then what happens? Well, we didn't want it to be that your items just become public on the ground because you put your items in that bank thinking this was protected. And so in these cases, your items, essentially kind of think of it as like an item pile that we looked at where we drop the items on the ground. But instead, this item pile, I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, there's like a waterfall there. That was a bit weird. Um, um, once these items kind of drop, they drop in a like protected way that then you can reclaim. Think of it kind of like they go to a mailbox. So basically, if you lose your item at this position, we record in the database like, oh, Tyler lost these items at this location. Like that's where the building that had the items in it originally was. And then we basically say, hey, the closest recovery station, Tyler can go recover those items at that closest recovery station. And so that basically creates a way for him to get his items back without them being fair game. So we don't have some weird incentives where it's like you want to like bully some other town to like leave and then you can like clean out the bank of every player that stored something there. We just don't think that that is like the right gameplay things. So you can see here we're entering another biome. We have some new biomes that weren't in Alpha 3, but they're not in the May 29th playtest. They will be in the game for June 20th. We wanted to leave some things as a bit more of a surprise. So you can see here, this is, in this case, this is the capital city of the Pugpire. It's a little bit lackluster in my opinion, but we have one thing that you can see here is if you saw the upgrade, the claim that I started, as you upgrade your claim through the tiers, it actually visually advances. So you can see this is, I believe, like what's going on here? This is a tier 10 maxed out claim.
From my team. That's funny.
What?
Maze Ellen says from my team, as though they have a team of hackers. The only real cheat we found was speed hacking and no clipping. They allowed us to complete dungeons instantly, which allowed us to complete dungeons instantly. As far as I know, they fixed the no clipping.
Yes, I think we've definitely done there. Basically, we had some stuff that was preventing the speed hacking and like the gather speed hacking that we had to turn off in one of the alphas because it was having some performance issues. But I believe that's back in place again. So yeah, there shouldn't be ways to dramatically like move too fast or gather stuff too fast. That I believe that's all back in place. So
personally, I love the Pugpire. I'm a big fan.
I think they could do a little bit better on their capital city. It's a little bit underwhelming if you ask me.
I guess I like Officer 1.
Yeah, so I guess with that we can see like because we're a member of this empire, unfortunately I don't have any shards I think right now. But I could donate shards. I've joined this empire. We can see here like the emperor is AG right now. These ranks are unnamed, but we've got Voxel here as one of the officers. We can see who's been kind of contributing. We can see where the nodes are in the Pugpire. So this is our capital city here. These are some empire watchtowers. We can see that some of these are getting lower on energy, and so they'll need to be topped up. But you can see quickly here that like the maintenance of these is quite low. So basically like with a very minimal amount of resources, you can set up a large empire. It's very easy to maintain. It really comes down to if other players want to challenge you for that territory, that's where it's going to, you're basically bidding against each other for who's going to keep the territory. So are you able to limit who can join your empire? So no, you can control who the authorities of your empire are, but any player can just join any empire. It's meant to be like it's like a public banner that you hold up, and as many people who want to agree with it can rally behind you. So think of it as kind of like, it's not like every time someone's born, you get to choose if you're going to let them be a citizen of your country. It's just, imagine like a thing like that where you can choose to align yourself with whatever like empireship or citizenship that you want, but it's up to you whether, the emperor can say like, hey, I'm only promoting people who are who suck up to me, or I'm only promoting people who donate a lot to the empire. Or they might say, I'm going to promote my friends, or we're going to do a democracy, or we're going to do whatever. Basically, it's up to the emperor to run it how they want. if you don't agree with the empire, then, or the emperor running it, then you probably will abandon that empire,
Or work against them,
or work against them. Exactly. So
potentially.
it sounds like another watchtower was just created.
Yeah, it was. Where did it go up?
Can we? I think we might be able to look here. Nodes.
Hmm.
So we could see the. I would like to have a like show on map here. That would be nice. It looks
It
like
should
it's
be
not.
nearby.
Yeah, it's not dramatically far away.
Is the map maybe not updating?
Oh, I know what it is. So the way that this new map is working, I think this is probably because it's running in like development mode, but I think it's how often it's publishing these updates is reduced right now for
I
reasons, but it will update shortly. I'm not sure how often it's running in this development server, but that's what that is. Yeah, was there more stuff about empires? I think you mentioned a few other things.
the flags, and obviously that was very cool. It went
Yeah,
through.
so we showed the flags.
Cape Watchtower, Capital City Totem, start an empire, make a flag. So one thing is too, the empire system just beginning. I think we want to make it cooler and cooler, place more things in the world, more banners. You know, it would be so cool if you could build a statue of the emperor, and maybe it would be designed based on what they looked like at the time that you built the statue. Wouldn't that be cool? I personally think so. And then that would be like just a thing that's in the world. Um, Two control schemes. You probably want to talk about that. Also, chat.
Yeah, so let's look at
We
chat
had
first.
chat
So
chat.
So the chat has been totally improved. We've got some settings here, like we can show timestamps. We can show I think this is not working, the channel tag. We can put it in, change the text size. We can disable world bubbles. So we've got a bunch of settings there. And then we basically have this tab system. So in the future, we're going to make this more dynamic. But right now, you basically have 3 tabs. And within each tab, you can name it and you can choose which channels are included in that. So right now, we've got the general tab, which is everything other than system. We've got the empire tab, which has claim empire and my empire. And we've got system, which is just system messages. So we can also choose the channels down here. So we can put it in region chat mode and I can say like, hello. And so now that's a region message. If I was to go here and see here, we have claim empire in this. If I turned on region now, it's interesting. Okay. This looks to also be a bug. Basically, you shouldn't see.
Live.
Yeah, we shouldn't see. I feel like it's something with the refreshing. I'm not sure about this. So anyway, these local messages shouldn't be here. We'll have to fix that. But you know, you can basically update these to choose what's being filtered on these. And I wanted to go over quickly what these channels are. So local is basically around your character. So it needs to be close enough to your character to be seen. Region is the entire like server world region that we talked about. So it's basically like, think of it as like your entire world area of the map. Empire is actually, so if we open the map right now and we see like right now I'm in the Pug Empire territory, this empire one is the empire that you're currently standing in is the chat, is what that means. We should really add like a tooltip to these. But if I post in empire, I can say like, hello Pugpire. And so this is in anyone who's in the empire's territory. So if someone's just walking through, they're going to hear this message. We also have my empire, which is a way for, this is not different from the empire channel, but it's basically a way for you to see the empire that you're in when you're not in it. So if I'm outside of the Pugpire territory, I can still see my empire. But say for example, I only want to, if I wanted this to be like my empire, then I would probably want to just have it this one. So now basically, regardless of where I am in the world, I'm going to see the Pugpire. But if I do this instead, this is essentially like current position empire, if that makes sense. So I could choose between those, or I could do more than one. So we have that. We can resize this within some boundaries. We can also emote from here. We've got some emotes down in here. And then we can click this to close it. You can hit enter to type stuff. You can see here, if I close this, oops, close this. Hello. So we can see like recent messages as well, like this. So there's still a few UX things that I think we're polishing up and fixing to be exactly how we wanted it to be. But broadly speaking, I think it's a huge improvement.
Somebody asked about player housing. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, Carter, and maybe a content update that we
Yeah,
will plan
so the player housing is a tough one. We mentioned it in a previous stream, and you might have noticed that we didn't put it in the patch notes. This is one where we have it working, but there were some issues that made us not 100% confident that we would have it in a way that we felt comfortable including to players. So I can say that it's definitely not in the May 29th playtest because that's already been finalized. We are internally trying to fix some of these issues. So it is like it is in the game right now, and I think I can show I could maybe show a broken version of it. But basically functionally it's there, but there's some edge cases that are not working that we wouldn't want players to think it's fully working and try to rely on it and have stuff, they get locked in a house, or their stuff gets misplaced or something. And so we're just making sure that it's working 100% good enough for what we want before we say like, hey, it's for sure in the game and like now you guys can go nuts. So I believe I could come here and trade with Brico. And unfortunately, oh no, it is. So it is removed actually in this version. So I can't without cheats easily do it. But basically, this is a place in the town here. So I could, for example, I could come here, and this is the old UI, but I could basically set my home here. I could visit someone, or I could ask to have visitor access to someone else's house. So I won't be able to do this right now because I don't have a house deed. But in the way this works, once it's in the game, and I'm fingers crossed we can get it all in for June 20th. If not, it'll come in a patch shortly after that. And so basically what you'll do is you buy a house deed. Your house deed essentially entitles you to a house of a certain size. Then you go to any location that's a housing building that has vacancies, and you set up your home in that building. And then once you have that's your house, you can, as we said before, you can move it to another location. You can upgrade your deed to get access to more space inside of the house. And I think that covers it. We've talked about it in a previous VOD. You guys can look at it if you're curious. But that's the state. That's the reason why we haven't showed it off today. It is, I would say, like 90% working. It's really just making sure that there's no catastrophic issues. I would rather it just not be included than to cause players to have some serious issues in the game. I think one thing too we didn't show is we have the whole keybinds thing now. So if we come in here, basically like we have primary and secondary keys for all these things. You can rebind anything. We also have basically two control schemes that we've set up. So we can do by default, you start on what we call the left click to move scheme. And so really these two schemes only affect the stuff in this movement and interaction category. So we have left click to move, right click is target, move, and interact. Shift right click is context menu. Space is toggle sprint. Q is target, and tab is target cycling. If we go to the other control scheme, the main difference is that left click becomes move and interact, and right click becomes context menu, and shift left mouse button becomes move. So it's really just shuffling around these top three. But you could also make your own scheme. These are just two suggested ones that we have. You can also come down here and you can, to your heart's content, you can set up your controls however you want. you might need to rebind some stuff if it's set incorrectly. I think you can set this to like your mouse keys. You can do whatever you want. So I think virtually everything in the game is set up here. If it's not, we're going to be adding it very shortly. So I think I think people have asked like, oh, I want to be able to click to target stuff. Oh, you can make a thing where left mouse button is target, and then you can do some other stuff. So
controller settings, not yet, but I mean, if this is not a Switch game or a
Steam Deck,
Steam game, I don't know what is, Steam Deck game. So we'd love to get there, but it's sort of in the realm of, it's related to WSD, so it's just something we have to think about.
Yeah.
If enough people hit level 10, will we unlock the level limit? Not likely. We don't really want people to burn out on the game before the game actually comes out, right? Some things are not missing. So the idea is you hit level 10. Some people are going to do that like within the first day. They can go around, they can help other players, they can chat with other people, you can role play, you can do the Empire system. And then maybe stop, and then, a couple weeks later, buy the game.
Yeah. I think the thing too is you can hopefully come in and you can try out you can level up all the professions to level 10. You can level up all the skills to level 10. And so you can try out a large variety of stuff in the game. And then when you come in on June 20th, you can basically get right to the thing that you want.
All right. So yeah, obviously you talked about the previous playtest. Maybe we should talk about, I guess this is more about the technical test though, just to remind everybody that the technical test.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I saw a lot of players were kind of asking questions about like, oh, we missed the last playtest and we're so disappointed or whatever. I want to just quickly recap for anyone who did feel like that was the case for them. The last test we did most recently, around 2 weeks ago, was a technical server stability test. And so if you missed that, don't feel like you missed something. Basically, it was us melting down the servers, and there was basically no gameplay to be had in that. Really, what the next test on May 29th is all about is getting anybody who wants to try the game, starting from May 29th, going for a while. We'll announce more details later today. And basically, it's come in, try the game, figure out if you like BitCraft, and if you do like it, then hopefully you'll consider buying it, or at least you'll wishlist it. And basically, it's just come try the game before you buy it, and hopefully just we can get some more feedback. We can figure out if there's any final issues, and we can polish those up. But really, it's just about that. You can't pre-download the playtest, so I should be more clear. The previous technical test was a Steam playtest. The upcoming thing beginning on May 29th is a demo. So it's going to be considered a demo because we're part of Steam Next Fest. It required it to be a demo. You can't pre-download it. It will become available when it begins. The game is only 2 gigabytes, so it's not like this is GTA 7. You don't need your whole hard drive or like 5 hours to download it. Unless you're on dial-up internet, I think you should be able to get we'll release it shortly before the servers go live, but it's not going to be like many hours or days before. As TwitchCon is over, shortly after that is beginning Steam Next Fest, which we've been accepted into. Steam Next Fest is basically a festival on Steam's store where they basically give visibility to games that are coming out soon that have demos. So because this playtest will be running through TwitchCon through Steam Next Fest as a demo, that qualifies us. So the game will still be accessible during that time, which is June 9th, 16th.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you'll see us on the Steam store page getting promoted there. You drop us a wish list if you haven't already. And
I would personally love to get weather. I don't think that's going to happen, but I mean, I would love to see weather in the game. I get to go to the team and be like, now you have to make weather.
Exactly.
And obviously help, of course.
Do we need to link our hub account with Steam for the June release early access? So the way that this will work, the answer is yes, but it's not like an explicit step you need to do. So your hub account has a registered email, and when you log in with Steam, it doesn't matter what your Steam account's email address is. Basically, when you launch the game through Steam, the game will ask you for your email address, and if you put in the same email address as your BitCraft hub account, that will like associate that character with that hub account. That will copy your hub inventory over to the game. And if you already own the game, as far as you've already supported us during alpha, we will be sending you a Steam key. And so you'll just want to make sure that you use the same email that's associated with those accounts to make sure that that connects properly. If you have any issues with that, we have like customer support stuff.
So the people who have badges, yeah, they're gonna get the Steam.
They're gonna get a Steam key. Yep.
Yep.
So before the game releases, probably close to the end of this demo, we'll be sending out emails with you'll get one Steam key for every alpha supporter badge you've purchased. Once you apply those to an account, it's permanent. That's a Steam thing, not us. So just be aware of that. And if you create an account that's not the same as your hub account, you might not have your inventory carryover. So just be aware of that. We will try to help with customer support, but the more you can just do the correct thing yourself, that makes it easier for us. We can show the pets here. All right. No, unfortunately not. So I don't think I can. Unfortunately, I don't think I can show this. But the short of it is, you can, as you become a better tamer, you can trade with the lessee and get pets. And there is a bit of like a system where you get random pets. It's kind of like I don't know,
shiny pets.
Yeah, like you can get more rare versions of the pets of the same type of pet, and you can trade them with other players if you want. So you can try to collect them all. You can trade them. You can. Let me just double check. Is there anything else? I guess final stuff. So for anyone who wasn't here earlier, open playtest May 29th until June 16th. Steam early access release. That playtest is going to be a demo on our Steam page. It's free. Anybody can try it. It's try before you buy. Try out the game. Steam early access release on June 20th. The game will be approximately $30 US. We have regional pricing. We'll announce the dates closer to the things. The June 20th will start with a completely fresh world, fresh wipe, everything reset. So if you're coming in just for that, don't worry, it's going to be a level playing field. Final stuff, we're going to be putting out a roadmap sometime closer to the release, just kind of showing what our plans are for the future. Final thing, if you haven't already, go wishlist the game. If you haven't already too, wishlist and follow the game. If you do that follow thing, you're going to get more visibility on our, like, we post a lot of updates on there. I see a lot of people said in the previous technical test, like, I didn't even know this was happening. Well, we posted in our Discord and we posted on Steam. So if you follow join
the Discord. Discord is discord.gg. I'll put in chat discord.gg/BitCraft. Join the Discord. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Great.
We'll see you in the next few days. We'll be at TwitchCon and we'll be streaming again. So see you guys soon and have fun in the playtest.
Adios.